Give me if I kill that bird.
Barbara, that's a bald eagle.
Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Oh, well, good evening, and good evening. This is The Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve, GubsRadio.com. We are live here at the Blue Point Brew Pub in the heart of
Pachogi.
You know what? Two things. Number one, I never have Steve your mic open when we start a show.
No,
ever.
you never do, and that's the reason.
And it's interesting enough that you are talking at the intro now, because I thought I had you trained not to say anything until we actually started the show. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We have some people out there in the audience, and we are live here at this beautiful beer campus that we've spent so much time at over the years. One thing we want to start with is obviously promoting November 4th, Cast Fest.
Cast Fest.
It should be like followed up by like a huge metal.
Oh yeah.
You know, Wilhelm scream.
Fest, come in.
Something like that. We got to figure that out. I'll do it in post. How about that?
How many different casts this year, possibly?
Oh my God. Well, can we? You want to save that?
I'm doing 55.
55 casts. Each to blow your mind.
Yeah. How much are the tickets?
I don't even know. I don't even know.
It's so small, the amount.
Yeah.
We can't
so
even
small
manage.
that you won't even know what happened.
It's minuscule.
Compared to the amount of 55 casts you're going to get.
Oh,
That's
geez.
just Jim's cast.
Exactly. That's just
That's
Blue Point cast.
right.
That's not the plethora
Of every brewery.
all these other breweries that are going to be
And the
there.
homebrew clubs.
And you got to remember, some breweries bring one, some
Right.
bring two.
Yep.
The homebrew clubs bring 10.
Do you know what's great about us getting here a little early on those days is...
Getting hammered? Oh.
No. We get to preview everything.
Yeah.
I feel very special when I just get to see what everyone's pouring and like map it out for the rest of the day.
What's really cool, see now, for years now, I've come to these, whether being a brewer or doing the Wort, and watching you go around and tap and tap and tap and tap and tap, and just the aromas coming off these casks, or the volatility of these casks.
The absolute mess.
The geysers that happen. Oh man, it's
gonna be a lot
such
of
a
fun.
sight. It's so cool.
I am very psyched to do it. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, still tickets available. Trust me.
Yep.
Warped Tour Band. Come on. I mean, that was a hit last year and this year. With a lot of new music out, I'm sure they're going to cover some new Blink songs. I mean, if they don't, it'd be silly not to. But they will definitely have something in their back pocket.
The boys will be kicking it.
Oh, God. So, I mean, what a festival it is. Go to Blue Point website and go ahead and get your tickets. We'll post something on our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook, and all that stuff so you can get tickets right away. When you guys are hearing this on Monday, today's Monday, October 20th, I think it is? Or no, it's 23rd. October 23rd is when you're hearing this.
Is when you're hearing this.
You still have a little under a week to get your tickets and get on it. So go to the Blue Point's website and check them out. Buy your tickets today,
And
guys.
even though it's been raining every weekend,
It won't rain on that.
It
day.
won't.
Dude,
It
it was
never-
80
it never
degrees
does.
last year. Remember last year?
it never
we were in
does.
shorts and
It's
t-shirts.
always awesome.
It was amazing.
Except for the first year when it snowed.
No, it snowed.
Yeah.
Oh, God. We'll get to talk about that. All
Oh,
right.
we will.
Well, now that our music's run out, we do have a few sponsors we have to read. So, Steve, take it away with Rosie's Draft Solutions.
Right. Rosie's Draft Solutions is a Long Island family-owned business that provides professional draft beer system services, line cleanings and maintenance, draft beer line system installs, event dispensing solutions, and more. They are passionate about craft beer and making sure it has the same quality as when it left the brewery. And that is only done by making sure those draft system lines are perfectly clean.
Clean and tight.
Rosie services bars, restaurants, halls, events, and all other beverage establishments, including home kegerated installs across Long Island and Westchester. You can reach them at rosiesdraftsolutions@gmail.com or call them at 631-219-2075, Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mention the Wort. And I think now they're giving Swedish massages.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
So cool.
I like that. So go to rosiesdraftsolutions.com or go ahead and give them a call. Our link is in our link tree in our bio of our Instagram. Listen, great fans of the show and great people for a nice small family business. We're also sponsored tonight by Brewbag. Brewbag for your beer pong cornhole. You will see that out and about on CastFest.
We will
have
have
that out and ready to go. It's your your classic 6-hole beer pong, but it's Brewbag. It's cornhole, and the game is shoot till you drink, or drink till you shoot.
I didn't get to play enough this year.
I agree.
During the summer.
I completely feel gypped. Yep, 100%.
I really did not.
110% did not feel like I got my Brewbag game, but we will.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to make up for that this in 2 weeks. So go to brewbag.com or go to our bio in our Instagram, and Linktree will give you a private website where you can get your Brewbag today. Go to brewbag.com. We're also sponsored by Beer Maker, BERMKR, for your table. Have you guys heard about Beer Maker?
No, I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
Okay, so
Nice.
we're going to have fun with Mark today.
You always do.
Yeah. So Beer Maker is your tabletop automated all-grain brewing system. It is one of the most amazing inventions that I've seen. So go to BERMKR, and you can actually get kits that are pre-measured out for all your grains, your hops. You can
Of course, they just came out their pumpkin and their Oktoberfest.
Fantastic. And, all year long you can get your porters, your stouts, your dark beers. You can get your hazies. You can get anything you want. Or you can make your own recipes.
Yeah.
And you can go on their little calculator, and they'll figure out how much you need for your, 1 gallon batch. Yeah, I know, that was a burp. So go to BERMKR, go to our Instagram and our bio and our link tree. You'll have a direct link to Beer Maker. And finally, we are sponsored by Brewers Hardware. Brewers Hardware for your all your servicing needs for your
small capacity.
Large capacity needs or small batch, small
batch
at home. Yeah, whatever.
Small batch.
Really, they sell a shit ton of tri-clamps. That's what it comes down to, right?
Tri-clamps for president.
Right, that's what you need. You need tri-clamps. So
everybody
go
needs
to
a tri-clamp.
Brewers Hardware,
Never
and
enough.
they were, I always say this, but they were sponsors from day one. They give us gift cards to give back to the breweries and our guests, and they really have been at home with us over the last 7 years. So appreciate you guys over at Brewers Hardware. And tonight, as you know, we are live here at Blue Point.
Blue?
Is the B.
Yeah.
And we are joined by Jim and Mark of Blue Point. What's going on, guys? How are you?
All right, man.
There we go.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. Mark's ready on it.
Were you excited to hear about Beer Maker?
Yeah, that was.
He's got one.
It's
Yeah,
very
exactly.
cool. It's very cool.
He's putting one on his countertop.
And there's an app and everything, and you can watch the whole process as it goes through, make your own small batch, whatever you want to do, experiment. It's pretty cool.
It's great for a home brewer that has no space.
Right.
Fits right on your countertop.
Mm-hmm.
The mess is minimal. Everything is in bags. The beer is in bags. Your wort, once it's finished, you just throw the bag away.
Yeah.
So something like that's good.
So if you're not trying to do like the Brooklyn beer and the Mr. Beery, then it's a much better system for
Beery.
you. Yes. Love Mr.
I had one of those.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, it was great.
Of course.
Little cans. and
Everybody
everything.
had one.
Yeah, and I actually had I went to Kedco and got the little bottle of the capper and everything.
Look at you.
You had to drop the little
Why
sugar
didn't you open a brewery? I want to know.
Because it was just too much work. I mean, Mark can tell us why you probably should and shouldn't open a brewery, for that matter.
Sure.
But let's get started, because Mark, we had you on last year at CastFest. We only had you for about 15 minutes. It's a busy day. You're running around. You gave us a lot of background about the brewery, but we want to hear from the start. We have a long form here. We have plenty of time. Tell us, how the hell did they get from where you guys were, very early on, to River Road and the expansion, and then to this beautiful beer campus and stage where you have live music, live acts. I saw Zane Lamprey here. It was phenomenal.
That was a great night.
I love Zane Lamprey. And you look around and it's like, this is an empire. And people will know the branding all across the country. How did it go from startup to now?
That's a long-winded answer for that.
We got plenty of time, Mark.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, Jim, you're not talking to me.
Right. Exactly.
Jim's here to drink.
Well, Jim's a
Look
big piece of how that all happened.
Right.
But it's funny to watch, thinking about the whole evolution of craft beer from the early days to later on, right? And And I think that's a big piece of that is the early stories for everybody. And a lot of that is the sort of the essence and theme of what everybody does in craft beer.
Right.
And so, like in the early days, I brewed my first batch of beer in 1976. So that's getting back there a little bit, right?
So I had a 1976 Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
That was what I took
nice.
my driving test in.
Really?
Salon.
Oh my
Yeah.
boat.
Salon.
Yeah,
It was
the
a
Salon.
V8. It had white interior, baby blue outerior, and a white like canvas top. I guess it was like a vinyl, but it.
Sure, I've gotten my hair cut in that place.
Oh God! By the end of its
great.
life, I'll give you this. It had basketballs holding up the front seats,
Yeah.
and the radio burnt out, caught fire in the Lincoln Tunnel on the way to New Jersey, and
As it should.
as it should. And then I had a 3 CD disc changer in the back seat with the speakers up on the back window.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
rode that thing into the ground, but it was one of the most well-built cars ever. It was amazing.
It certainly sounds it.
Yeah. I can tell
Well,
you
you know,
how,
in
how many
76,
shopping
things
carts.
were built and made
That's what
really
I'm saying.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what
Yeah,
I'm getting
yeah.
at. It's like the branding started when you first brewed that first beer. Do you remember what beer
I
that
might go
was?
buy one.
Well, no, not really.
It was beer.
It was so before '78, right, when Carter made the home brewing
Yeah.
legal. So in '76, it was still illegal, right? So we had underground magazines and zines, and then we sort of putting the pieces together. And there was this English guy in Queens that we would go to his apartment, and we had a secret knock, and he'd open the door, and we'd go in, and he would sell us malt and hops illegally because
Right.
it was contraband,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's like-
And so
It's like drug dealing, but
Yeah.
only,
Yeah.
you know,
but it's
malt.
the same feeling of that, though.
Hey,
exactly.
you got any of those carapils?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got
very
the
much.
Cascade. What do you got?
We're like John Bull. Oh my God.
Oh my God, John.
Are you holding? You holding?
Yeah,
Are you holding
exactly.
Yeah, I got the Centennial. What you need?
Why are these hops brown? They're supposed to be. Okay.
Yeah. There's seeds in these. Hold on.
Exactly.
Wait a second.
That's great.
But we go back out, and I was a teenager, and we go back out. I had an older brother that was directing the show here, and brew the beer, and it was so that sort of illicit and excitement imprints on you a lot when you're young, right?
Right.
And so once we started doing that, and we had this one situation that happened when we were brewing beer, because remember, it's still illegal, right? So you can't have it in your house, you can't do it in this. We weren't doing it in my parents' house where I was living in, but doing it at my brother's house. And so we
Blame it
were
on him.
we had this mobile DJ business that's going on, and I would be in the bars as a 15-year-old at 4 a.m., but that's a different story. But the one time we were coming home, and we had brewed beer, and we had the carboy in the house, right? So we're coming home from a bar in Smithtown Avenue, here, going to Oakdale, and my buddy of mine is right behind me, right? So he drops his cigarette accidentally and swerves and hits a car, smacks his head. We're only a couple blocks from the house. He drives home, 4:35 in the morning, comes in. We had been, my brother and his friends used to go and scuba dive for hash bricks, right? So at that
Wait. We're gonna
See,
don't
Tangents.
Right,
Here
Don't
we go.
pass that one up.
Tangents.
right. So
Where
back,
were these?
well, back then, if you were a scuba diver, remember this is pre-internet technology.
Right.
The Coast Guard would just sink the boats off the coast of Long Island, New Jersey, and
Okay.
you could tune into where they were,
Ah.
rent a boat, and go out and dive
And catch whatever-
and pick up whatever. So we
spoils.
had these 10-kilo hash bricks at the house that had the turkey stamp on them, but they were wet, right? So you had to dry them
Try
out.
'em out, yeah.
Really low and slow in the oven, right? So that it happened to be drying night, right?
Okay.
So we come back
Which
from
was
the
a
bar,
Thursday, by the way, if anybody's asking.
right? And we get drying night. We come in, and my buddy's right behind me. Now he's bleeding from the head where he hit his head in the swipe in the car. And I'm like, oh shit, we're trying to figure it out. And then the cops pull up, right? So the person's car he hit saw him and followed and called the police. Now the police are there.
okay.
Now we're in this tiny kitchen. We got 10 hash bricks in the oven. My buddy's just did a hit and run. He's bleeding from his head. I grab the phone as I see the cop coming off, and I dial 911. You remember when the phone was on the wall?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I grabbed the phone on the wall.
And you rotary.
Yeah, and I rotary 911, and it took time as the cop was coming up the driveway like a slow motion kind of a thing, Matrix deal. And so then I get the cop on the phone. I hand it to him, the phone to my friend bleeding down. I go, just report the accident
Right.
so that it's not a hit and run. So the cop comes in the house. We're all standing in the kitchen with our hands on our hips. It smells like you can only imagine.
We're so
My
glad you're
friend's
here.
bleeding. The cops are on the phone. The cop doesn't believe our story. He yanks the phone out of my friend's hand with the blood on it. he gets on there and he realizes it is 911.
Yeah.
The blood all calmed down. He relaxed, put the phone back. All right, we're going to take care of this. I'll write your ticket, but we realized you had to leave. And we're all like, nothing to see here, folks. There's a carboy of beer bubbling. There's 10 bricks of ash in the stove, and it's 5 in the morning, and my friend's bleeding. They're all like, just another day at the old show, eh?
Yeah, you want to come over after you're done? Or we're having a great time here.
So he did leave, and we survived it all, and it was like that kind of things you don't forget.
Yeah, you don't forget that.
No, so
I have a night where we similarly got pulled over by the cops, and we had to. They suspected contraband. We didn't have anything that they could do anything with, so they ended up like breaking things in my trunk to make sure that it wasn't like they were in bags and it was like equipment, like athletic equipment, and like break that. That's something. I'm like, no, but I'll break it, whatever you want. I'm an idiot. I'm like 18 years old. I don't want to get in trouble. It's Nassau County Police, so I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll break it, whatever. And we walked away, but it's just like one of those things, you remember that forever. I remember my friend told me, the cops, what color are your sneakers? He goes, ice gray. We call everyone ice gray now for some reason. It's like you just know those things set in your mind forever, but you don't know what beer was in there.
No, I don't remember. I wasn't kidding though. It was some kind of John Bull concoction. So
okay,
that
That's crazy.
That was our. We were enamored with that. It was from overseas. It was all exciting, and didn't realize it was all prepared for us so well. But it did work, right? And it was beerish, when we drank it.
So the first beer you do remember, can you recall that? Like, where were you? What were you doing?
We did that for a little bit, right? And then I was in the Navy, and I was out in San Diego, right? And so we started home brewing out there, right? And the challenges out there is just keeping stuff cool because it's
temperature,
blazing hot at all times. And so the old, foamy carboys in the over the carpet in the rental places, we did plenty of that. And but that was we trying to do slightly lighter beers out there in the hot weather, right? And so, lagers were probably a little bit beyond us, but just kind of making light golden ales, just something that we could, get down.
Drinkable.
Right, something drinkable to start, and then everything always just sort of got, then now it's double stout time, and now it's, all right, we tried that, that was fine, now it's time to get down on it. But it was really at that time, this is the early 80s, it was classic styles, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of stuff that was changed.
And even out there, right?
There.
I mean, it still wasn't like an IPA heaven yet.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a few, certainly it was ahead of its time in California than the East Coast, right? And that's sort of what I would do, like, we'd be in San Diego and say the Dead were playing in San Francisco, and we would take off on a Friday and drive up the coast and stop at every brewery along the way, try to talk to them about what we knew and what they knew, because there was no information out there, right, pre-internet. And, that statement that craft beer is the first successful open source endeavor by mankind, it was sort of, I lived that life. I lived that, go from brewery to brewery, explain everything I knew, try to get the information from the brewer, sleep on somebody's living room floor, go to the next stop, see a show, turn the car around and try to do that. And I did that for years, right? And so met all kinds of people in the industry, and got information from all different sources. So it was a very interesting way to accumulate information because you got a lot of different points of view. German brewers, American brewers, crazy guys, cokeheads, everything, it was just... It came at us from every different perspective. So it was a real interesting way to synthesize all of that and try to create
What was the
something.
common thread through all that? Do you remember what was the one thing that you're like, oh, okay, so they're saying the same thing at each one. At some point or other, they're kind of all saying the one
Let's get
thing.
high.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was.
All right, fair enough.
There was certainly, I think, the biggest challenge at that time, it was a combination of raw ingredients and yeast management, right? So yeast management was so early days for craft beer that it was hard for everybody, specifically homebrewers back then, to get real quality yeast to do work with. And so then that was go to the brewery and get some yeast from them. And
someone would give you something,
right. And so that difference was, yeast management was always sort of on everybody's question.
That would be like the trading card of brewers, right?
I couldn't even imagine back then.
Yeah, just trying to figure out.
Trying to get yeast.
Right.
Now it's you can get yeast anywhere, anytime, shipped to you in hours.
I didn't know what that was.
And back then,
Forget it.
Yeah,
and viable yeast too.
Yeah,
right.
like usable.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Right, and that sort of everybody, but the other theme was really everybody really trying to make better beer. Like the whole focus was quality and then lifestyle stuff. Some guys were just lifestyle brewers. They were doing this. They loved the hanging out and all the other things that go with the business. But most people were really, there was such a challenge just to get drinkable beer out because of the limited equipment, the limited knowledge, and all the rest of that. It was really fighting a good fight, was really trying to get quality beer out. And
it's
that's
so
something
new
that's,
to society at that point. It takes a while for that kind of ramp up over time. Like these breweries that were out there, what was their location? They were in garages? Were they doing it out of like a small commercial space? How were they set up?
So early 80s, there was a couple of pubs that were going. And so there was some in San Francisco and down. So at that time, actually nothing in LA, right? So I start in San Diego, and you think about California. We did everything up to Humboldt and back.
Nice.
And so there was a couple things in San Diego, but not the ones you know now, right? So they're all gone. But nothing in LA. It was a big wasteland. You had to go north. But like San Jose Brewing and San Francisco Brewing and Berkeley had a couple of places. And so they were basically brew pubs.
How'd you even hear about that? You just talk to the next brewer, where should I go?
Yeah, everybody, and then a little bit of every piece of information we could pick, and some of the early beer magazines and stuff, and any bit of information, right? It's so, it's just so different now with obviously with the internet and everything.
It seems very much like the music industry at that time as well, right? I mean, just where's the next best place to play where the audience is for that genre?
Right.
And then just traveling to that and going to play a couple shows and then moving on from there. Same kind of concept. The audience is relatively the same.
Yeah, I mean, that part of the joy of the business to me was the travel. It sort of mixed all of that, right?
Yeah.
Follow the band around, go see these people. This is all like-minded folks that have a similar thing on the agenda. Very easy to get along with like-minded folks.
Right.
And so I really liked that community as much as I liked brewing beer and trying to learn. And so that was, to me, it was a lifestyle endeavor.
Right.
And so it still is really, but that was sort of at the end of the day, it's a lifestyle endeavor, and if it's not for you, that's fine too. Both paths are valid, but for me, it was always been a lifestyle endeavor.
Right. Now, when you came back to the East Coast, what was the first thing you wanted to do? Did you want to just open up and be done, or you knew you had to kind of go through the process? Yeah,
easier said than done, right? I wasn't, the East Coast and Long Island. So I moved back to Long Island in 1991.
Okay.
And it was nothing going on, right, in 91, really.
Yeah, no.
And so I had a couple of homebrew stores in Nassau County, right? And so through those homebrew stores, we made some connections. And so I knew I wanted to get into it somehow, some way. I didn't have the capital myself to just plop it down and start.
Right.
And so it was even hard. It was hard to buy equipment back then, right? It wasn't. You just didn't pick the phone up and call somebody and get a brewery.
Or go on eBay and just purchase it and have it show up your front door. I mean, it's
right. I mean, the whole thing was just so different. But through the homebrew store, I met the guys that opened up Long Island Brewing Company in Jericho, right?
Yeah.
And
So
I
I have a buddy who used to go. Eric, a friend of the show, Eric Gray, mentioned to me, because I mentioned I was speaking with you tonight. He goes, talk about Long Island Brewing Company. He said Westbury, but maybe he was mistaken. It's around that area.
Yeah, it's Jericho, but I mean, it's right on the border of the two. Yeah.
I have one glass
right next to the Hojos. He said.
Yeah, across the street. Yeah.
I have one glass that has the actual.
He has a growler that says Long Island Brewing Company on it. He said, I'm holding on to that. It's going to be his nostalgia.
That was sort of certainly for Nassau County, that was the beginning of people actually seeing what it was.
Right.
And it was a majestic place. 2 stories, gigantic windows, big tanks on 2 levels. It was an interesting thing for people, and sort of they come in Nassau County, have never seen a brew pub before, and you come in and it's all well lit, and as brewers we wore white lab coats. They made us wear white lab coats, and it was sort of a little bit
fancy.
of a song and dance
Dr.
along with it
Roboto
all.
playing in the background.
Right. And we had live music, and upstairs was a coffee bar. And
I mean, way before its time, because that's what you expect to see nowadays, right? I mean, you walk into a brew pub like that, that's what you want to see. You want to see the big, tall ceilings and the tanks and everything else, like what we have here. That's what you expect. And so, again, way before its time, what was the ultimate demise of that? What happened to Long Island Brewing Company?
for the public knowledge, well, it didn't work out for them, and and basically I left before it closed, so I'll leave that to somebody else.
Somebody else.
This is history to figure out what happened at the end, but.
But could we chalk it up to being way before its time? That if it's something like that
100%.
opened today, it would be welcome with open arms. Because Nassau County lacks the amount of breweries that Suffolk County has, and B, I mean, anything that's big like this that has multiple levels, places to go, things to see, family friendly, dog, all that stuff, it's well sought after on Long Island.
Right.
It's a destination.
Well, then also, a lot of people didn't understand craft beer.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was at its infancy.
Yeah.
So, maybe they drank a lot of German lagers or something like that. But when somebody's making a alt beer or an ESB or something, they're like, what is this? Or brown ale,
Beam Me Up Scotty was one of our was our amber ale, right? Yeah, that was
an amber.
And then the Left Coast IPA, and those were the things that were out on the menu. Of course there was back then American Weed, and there was some other things, but it was they were busy. It was a busy place for quite a while. Once again, it didn't work out, but the restaurant business has its own demons and devils
and that's
and everything.
Part of it,
right?
probably because it had a restaurant, a kitchen. There's things that there was limitations to the amount of things you could do.
I could imagine
as opposed to
just getting ingredients.
Right,
must have been
for the amount of beer they were brewing.
Yeah, that was the whole thing of. The trailer arrives, and all of a sudden everybody scatters because you're doing the 20 pallets of 55-pound bags are coming off by hand.
I mean, they still do that.
Because it was a
Any place
restaurant,
that
we didn't
doesn't
have a forklift.
I was saying, any place that doesn't have a forklift is immediately going, oh, God damn it.
All of a sudden everybody's
Terrible
out the
days,
door and everything. But
all right, I'm punching out. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
yeah.
Damn it.
So that all was a challenge, and we did sell some beer out. We had a kegger, and we sold some beer out. So it was really sort of the early.
And you had
times.
contracts. You had restaurants that would pick it up, and, and tap handles out there.
Yeah. We would drive around and drop it off in the cars and stuff. Wow. And it was all none of it really, really well planned or anything, but just it was every day was an exciting new thing.
But it seems like it follows the same journey as a lot of new breweries.
Yeah,
right. Just still it's same heartaches, same stuff. You have to problem solve throughout the time. It's very similar to anyone that's starting up a new brewery to have to go through those trials and tribulations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing that's misunderstood in general, not by brewers but by people out there, is how complex the whole brewing thing is once you get it set up, right? And so every day something's happening, right? Your CO2 runs out, the tank's got a problem, something's leaking. It's not as shiny and all fun as it looks. It's like it's kind of a Rubik's Cube thing to keep it all going and do this stuff. And we had, a brewery was made in Hungary, and there was no schematic in automatic pneumatic valves, and you couldn't buy parts from Granger, and you just get into this cycle of everything has to be hand fixed and done, and takes time, and you got to spend hours and hours of thinking something and solving the problem. And so that's part of the humbling part of brewing, right? One of the things I like most about brewing is how humbling it is, because you're always striving for something better. You're always learning. The science is advancing, so it keeps you engaged with your mind. So it's one of those fun kind of life learning things that you do. But there's also those firehouse days where everything is going sideways.
On fire,
and so
you need to put that out. Now, where did you pick up Jim? Where did you find him?
Well, it was.
He was in bushes.
Just peeking
Lurking around the corner somewhere, just hiding. So,
Kmart.
Please hire me, please. Someone
Hi,
hire me.
welcome to Kmart.
Hi, welcome to Kmart. I'm Jim.
Would you like a cart, please?
Yeah. I was a greeter.
Yeah. Jim,
not a good one either. So.
Jim came to us from Harpoon through a friendship with Alan Brady, and I'll turn that to Jim to explain.
By the way, I was at Harpoon. We were at Harpoon.
Yeah.
2 years ago now? 3 years ago? Might be longer than that.
2.
Just after COVID.
Yep.
Beer campus as well. Very big, very large, very similar to the layout. A little bigger parking lot out front, but other than that,
I'm sure it's much nicer now. So when I was there, so it's South Boston. How nice can it get, really?
Yeah, right.
Honestly,
That's a good point.
Yeah, technically so. Yeah, so I started my career in the Midwest, small brew pubs, and I was actually at a small brew pub, and the guy would go out and check our accounts for me, usually cleaning the kettle or something by that time. It was November. He started filling the kettle with me actually in the kettle.
Really?
Ice cold water. Went and had lunch. Got up to about chest deep, so that was fun.
Don't take it personal.
Yeah. So I felt really great that day. Like I was very loved. So from that point on, I kind of started looking for other jobs. Started saying, hey, it's time to get out of the Midwest. Time to go and do something a little bit bigger. And I came across Harpoon and Al Marzi, director at that time, gave me a shot. Came out, filtration and brewing. I met Alan Brady. So my wife was working at a chiropractor's office at the time. Would come in late, would stay late, come pick me up. So I'd sit in the pub and drink beers afterwards. And
Oh, that sounds terrible, Jim.
yeah, tough life, right? Yeah. So then I would go and sit in the lab and talk to Alan Brady and just pick his brain about beer and just whatever's going on and just try to learn as much as I can. Just be a sponge, And I guess kind of he remembered that. So he got laid off and we started self distribution. Excuse me.
Yeah.
They hired all of our good brewers pretty much. Everyone who made money and bought trucks. So that's what happened. And he came here, and a year later he brought me out. So it was pretty cool.
Did it take much convincing?
No, we went to the Orr House, had some apps and some beers.
Oh, the Orr House.
And we're like, hey,
Nice.
Burst, like, you want a job? I'm like, yeah, why not?
Well, the Orr House, they were like, oh, yeah, no, it's going to be great. Come on, the food is fantastic here.
Wine and dine me, so it was great.
So what did you start out doing here? What was your first kind of task?
Well, back in those days, we did it all. We were brewers, we were, cellarmen, we were yeast management, everything. So we come in, start mashing in, start getting the beer going, start cleaning your tanks, start sanitizing your tanks, start looking at yeast, start setting things up, start weighing your hops up. I had utility guys that kind of pick things up and put things down at that point, fill jugs, and all great people, all phenomenal people. And
Great cabs on every single one of them.
I met so many phenomenal people, and it was just fun all the time. So, can't say all the time.
Did you start at this location, or were you at River
No,
Road?
River.
I was going to say,
this
definitely.
is my 20th year.
Yeah, you were way back then. So how was that? I mean, from both of you here, and you guys can share. And what were your best memories? What were your worst memories of River Road? Like, what was the hardest part of it? What was the best part? Yeah,
Stuck mash.
Yeah.
It was the equipment, really.
Yeah. I mean, it was antiquated.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was cool. I mean, I romanticize about it now.
Yeah.
Because I'm not using it. When I was using it,
have to fight it every day.
I was cursing, I was yelling, I was kicking, I was screaming.
Now, the brew kettle came from across the sea, didn't it?
It did originally. So it was the first direct-fired brew kettle in the United States that came in that whole Peter Austin setups that they're all over the Northeast.
Yeah.
And so that one was at Wild Goose Brewing down in Baltimore. And so that's when we showed up, Pete and I showed up to buy it at their auction. They had merged with another brewery in town, and they'd built a brand new brewery, and they merged with a few breweries and moved out of their facility. And we showed up there, and there was this brick kettle there, and we're like, okay, we'll buy it and put it on a truck and get home. And that's,
Just like that.
It couldn't have been, the naive piece of that is so entertaining still to me at this moment. Because after we did buy it, and we were standing there, and got the truck guy and the forklift, we're like, put it on the truck, and we'll see you in New York.
Yeah.
We got happy hour to get to, and it wasn't like that. We had to smash it apart with sledgehammers. We made out of the pallets that were laying around the brewery. We made boxes and took all the bricks because they were curved bricks that went around, so they weren't just regular bricks that we could replace. So we had to smash the whole thing up with sledgehammers, build these pallets, put these bricks, get trucks to come and take these bricks to New York. And on the inside is just the silver, sort of the tank
like
that
the
is
lining,
the lining, because it hangs on the brick with a collar that hangs on the brick with a direct fire burner underneath it and a cap, right? And the cap is in the bar room, right?
Yeah, that is the most awesome thing.
Yeah.
That is still with us.
I think most people pass it and just don't even know what they're looking at.
When it first opened here, I walked in, I'm like, oh man, this is, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the cap.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was it, and so that was much to Jim's dismay. That was the piece of equipment that we had, and we brought it up and had to rebuild it and do that. And then in that time period, some of the people that were going on that had similar systems, like over at Dogfish, they had the same kind of thing, right? And so we'd go see Sam and say, hey, what do you recommend? And he'd be like, don't. But
the answer's no.
Right.
But
stay in the back. He has like that back area where he was doing it in the restaurant area, right? And he was doing all those pilot badges.
And so it was more. But we did learn a little bit on how to maximize the design of the piece, right? So the hot air, it was a ring burner that just went straight up,
right?
And so we built So ours we custom did where we built fire brick around it so it would force the air to circulate and go around the whole tank. Because it was such an early design, from '88 that kettle was built.
Jesus.
And so since it was such an early design, it wasn't maximized for efficiency or use, and it had some hot spots in it. And so we were trying to change that. And one of the funny stories is, once we got it all built, we called what was the gas company at the time.
I was going to say it was natural gas, right?
Right, and so then they had to come to turn it on and give us the permit. And these two guys that had obviously been doing this a long, long time show up, and they look at it and they go, "What the fuck? Did you just build? You just build this thing?" And we're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, kind of.
And they say, "Yeah." And they're like, "You can't turn this on. You're gonna blow the whole place up." And we're like, "Well, it's not exactly a blueprint. I don't know."
I didn't get this at auction. They're not going to give you everything you needed.
No, there was nothing.
So the brick actually acted as like an insulator,
right? And
to kind of hold temperature. When you fire it up, you had obviously some gauges and stuff that told you temperature on the.
Yeah, there was a thermometer.
Sure.
A thermometer.
Sure.
There was a
Hey,
thermometer.
that's boiling. That's 212.
Yeah.
Good
But these guys got really into it, the two guys, and they were like, "Okay, we'll come back." And they came back with all kinds of instrumentation, and so they had to read like the gases on the outgoing flue has to be within a certain parameter, and all these other things, and then safety switches. Of course, we had no safety, and that was
hard hats.
That was craft beer back in the day. I mean,
Shoot, don't listen.
There's no OSHA. There was no OSHA like that
back then there was nothing.
No.
But so they kind of fixed it up for us, and they got really excited because it was something different, right? They're doing the same thing day in, day out. They really embraced this project for us, and we got the thing. They helped us get the thing up and running and legal enough and safe enough, and then they blessed it, and we were off and running.
Now, to get that out of there, what did you have to do? You had to dismantle everything that was there? You just sold the space and left?
When we left River Avenue?
Yeah.
Well, we had actually, that in '08, we had brought a new brew house.
Oh, so you already replaced
that
it in 08.
stuff was all gone.
Okay.
And
so there you go.
The worst stuff.
It was your happy day.
day.
That was your happy day.
Well, those direct fire, now Jim should tell the story better, but those direct fire kettles, that heat is going on the access, the pipe that leaves underneath the tank gets
Superheated?
It gets superheated and solidified because the work that's in that thing. And so you have to open the valve, and we had with an iron bar, had to unplug it each time. And of course, as soon as you unplug it, the hot wart's coming at you, right? So
beer enemas all day.
Jim, tell a story.
Oh my God, it was terrible. So like,
It was terrible.
big piece of rebar with like some channel locks on it.
Okay.
We lock them down, take the valve off. Well, you always open the valve first and hope to gosh it just breaks.
Right.
Hope to gosh there was enough liquid in there, it didn't fully like become charcoal. And you're like, oh God, it didn't break.
Yeah.
So you have this big, massive pipe wrench taken off this, like had to be a 4-inch line to it, like 4-inch line. We wheel this line off this big valve, take the rebar, slam it up there, slam it up there, slam it up there. You're like, oh shit, here it goes. This one, slam it up there and start pouring. Just start pouring hot trube all over your feet.
Close the valve.
You're like, oh my God. So now you're putting this big 4-inch valve back on while it's hot and streaming out.
Jesus.
So
Well, the pressure's there and everything.
There's not that much pressure. It's just hot.
Yeah.
Really, really freaking out. So trying to tighten it down, shut the valve, then you hook a line up, then you run it out the drain. So it was always an
Quite the adventure, though,
It was
every
always an
single
adventure,
time.
So yeah.
So you replaced that. What were you saying?
Can I ask a question?
Go.
I know I don't have a mic. What
Yeah.
makes the heat?
He was saying it was
the
a
pressure?
Direct fire.
direct fire, so it was natural gas burner.
Right?
from
Almost
underneath.
looks like a barbecue, right?
Yeah.
You could see the flame. You're looking at it. It was about as cavemanish as it got.
So when you got steam, did you do the little like dance?
Oh God, yes.
So I was gonna say, so in 2008, like that new brew system came in.
Yeah. I felt lazy.
A lot of things had to get changed, right? I
lazy.
mean, a lot of the plumbing, a lot of the electric. What was the process of doing? What was the layover? What was the time period?
Burners.
Yeah, it was the layover was about 2 weeks, right? I think we were down for 2 weeks before we
Was that
brewed
the most
again.
you were closed since you had opened?
Oh yeah, by far. And that system, I bought it from an American company, but it was made in China. And it was funny. I went over to China. You had to sort of bless
you
it.
went over there?
Yeah, because you had to say okay before they shipped it.
Okay.
Because making any changes on site was a lot easier in the factory than it was
Coming
coming over here because they didn't have any reps over here
Right.
or anything, right? So I go over to this It's outside of Shanghai. It's a town called Ningbo, China, and they make a lot of the brewing equipment in the world there.
Really?
Right? And so there's
Still
a lot
to this
of
day?
Yeah, and so it's all the big a lot of the big stuff in the big places is made in that town, and a lot of stuff. So they were getting into the smaller brew systems at the time. Right?
Now, does Singbo have breweries in it?
Not that I knew of.
There was easy
you
would
know,
that be to already have the company that makes some of the tanks, and you just start a brewery and just 2 doors down.
Yeah, a lot of tanks and stuff like that come from China.
Yeah.
And then the companies like Premier and
they'll come customize it.
they will customize it for you. But a good majority of
material.
just the shells, like the China.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and typically wherever stainless steel manufacturing is most efficient at that time,
Right.
right? Because you can get the engineering done anywhere, and then the way it works. Anyway, so about 2 hours out of Shanghai, Ningbo, and so went there.
Ningbo, I said Shanghai.
Right, and they're like, not to disparage anybody's OSHA, but
Right.
there was they're welding stainless in sandals and stuff. It was I was like, wow, that's a little whoa, watch out. And but we had to make some minor adjustments. I was really happy I went because there were some things a little out of whack, and I was like, move this here, move this pipe here. I can't do this
Now,
or
was
that.
that because you already knew your space and you knew like angles and what had to go where? Yeah.
Exactly. So if you think about grain out, it was a 30-barrel system, right?
Right.
So the grain out was, you would open up the manway to the mesh, and it would automatically push it. But we had to get the forklift and the bucket underneath to get it in there
Right,
to
so you needed
dump
the
grain in.
clearance, yeah.
Right. So there happened to be a post right there where they had initially
that
put
doesn't
in.
work.
And I was like, oh, yeah, exactly. We got to move this over here, and so there was only a few minor things, but they would have been major things had it not been done.
Right.
And a great time when we were there, but it was very hard because there was no communication with them. The language barrier was severe, and so trying to. They had one person I could speak to, and it was connect with everybody. Okay. So once again, one of those life learning experiences, but. We did get it done and got it over here, and then that was what would you call that, Jim? Semi-automatic. It was, Yeah. We had all kinds of computer gauges and all kinds of stuff to do.
It was a big step up.
Yeah, it was a big step up.
Yeah.
And then with hot water, like we had on the old system, it was electric hot water, which is not a joy on Long Island, and so. And it wasn't automated in any which way. You have to come early. Somebody had to come in early, put the water, turn the thing on, and do the amount of hours and labor that it took everything to do is actually extraordinary when I look back on it, right? The amount of hard work, and I think that's one of those things that just goes, one of those themes that's through craft beer everywhere. The amount of physical hard work it takes to get beer out in a system like that is people would never imagine it. If you told them how hard it was, it would be hot in the summer, cold in the winter, without the camaraderie and sort of the fun that we all had as well, it would be an impossible job to explain to somebody.
I mean, what you're describing again is a very similar path that many have taken, and the trials and tribulations of all of which are experienced throughout the brewing industry. What kind of got you over that hump once you got that new brewing system? What was that next phase? Because I remember, early on, Toasted Lager, Toxic Sludge was one of my favorites. The Blueberry, Rastafari, like those were River Road classics.
So before we get past that, how did Toasted Lager
come about?
Like, because that is, I mean, that's what built this company, I believe.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that was. At the time on Long Island, the two beers that you saw in the bars mainly were, or the two beers that were not yellow colored that you saw in the bars were Bass and Sam Adams Lager. Right?
Yeah.
So that was really it, right? At that time, everything else, even the German imports, were all golden beers and such, and good beers. But that was, and so our, the concept was we're going to create a beer that fits into that, goes after that market, right? And so. As wonderful as those beers are, Bass is certainly not fresh around here, and so not anywhere anymore, but except in England. But it's so that was the game, right? And so we had that direct fire kettle. We wanted to come up. We were making up names and stuff, but Toasted Lager. One of the things was we wanted the people to understand when they heard it that it wasn't going to be a yellow lager, right? That there was something to it. We had the direct fire kettle. We had a lot of roasted malts in it. And so trying to put all that together and have a friendly name that wasn't going to scare people off, right? And so that you kind of put all those pieces together, and Toasted Lager was the choice. And it just stuck, and then went on and on and on.
Yeah, I mean, it really hasn't changed in flavor since I remember drinking it for the first time.
Well, yeah, I mean, recently.
I'm sure Jim
recently
could
it
add
has.
to that, like what kind of happened throughout, and ingredients-wise, and what you have to substitute, obviously, availability. But what you guys have done since way back in the day seems to be consistent. Most people generationally will say, it's what I remember, for the most part.
And that's one of those things about the good customers will say things like that, and then the reality is in brewing, right? The ingredients change, stuff change, availability changes, your equipment changes.
Weren't you guys contracting for a while, the toasted lager?
We did the toasted lager bottles, right? So the package was contracted when we were in River, and so we tried to do the draft. It became bigger than we could deal with there.
Yeah.
So
it blew up.
Right. So we also did draft eventually, contracted both. But we always made some there. We always made toasted lager there, and Optical Illusion and all the other brands that were there. But for a long time, our contracted piece was just toasted. And then all of the 12 ounce. So as the 12, we didn't do 12 ounce for 3 or 4 years. And then once we got into glass, that was where we contracted out, because we just, one of the things that was happening at the industry at that time, if you look at it from a wholesaler's perspective, and this is the early 2000s, half the time a wholesaler would order from a craft brewery at the time, they order a trailer of beer and they get 2 pallets, right? Very frustrating on the wholesaler side, because they can't count on that beer showing up and can't count on selling it.
They're getting people giving them orders, and they can't satisfy all their customers, so they end up, someone gets hurt in the end.
Right, and so it takes a long time to create the capital to expand your brewery.
Sure, yeah, and afford to buy it up front.
Part of that is why we chose the contract route. Because when they ordered a trailer of beer, I could get them a trailer of beer, right? And so in that particular time frame, that was a critical action to growing your brewery, was being able to deliver, getting the wholesaler behind you, and being able to be that person that they can count on. And
Do you think if it wasn't for that, it could have been as big as it is?
I think not at that time, because it's, once again, timing's got to do with everything in
Sure.
business, right? And so I think that particular time frame from 2000 until 2008 or 10, or it might even be going on today, but everybody on Long Island that's in this business knows how expensive it is to expand your brewery on Long Island, right? It's extraordinary, especially when you're competing on the shelf against breweries that are from much more rural areas and much less expensive areas to operate. So for us, that we went down that road, and we were able to expand at a much more rapid pace than if we had to build the brewery every step of the way. Sell another keg of beer, buy another tank. There's enough of that anyway, and no matter what you do. But we were able to circumvent that at that time.
It's still to this point today, but I remember a time where you couldn't walk into a bar and not see toasted lager.
Yep.
It was in every single bar. Everyone had it, like Bud and Bud Light,
And
like anything else.
for me, it was seeing it in 7-Elevens,
Yes.
supermarkets. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, when that first wave of distribution went into the down the block deli,
Yep.
you knew, you're like, there's something here. When I go to Aruba and I see it sold in Aruba, and you're like, what the hell is this? Or I went to the DR and I saw, it was Brooklyn at the time. Sorry, Blue Point, but it was Brooklyn. I'm like, how did Brooklyn get down to the Bermuda or DR somewhere? I'm like, this is.
I remember being
It's the reaches that you guys have. Like, these breweries have this reach that just extends beyond what you would think it is. Foreign countries, England, Europe, everywhere.
Yeah,
You're like,
I was in
Toasted Island?
Chicago, and I go into it's called Benny's.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I walk in, and I'm like, and right there, the whole thing of toasted lager. I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So
and then I got zombie dust from 3 Floyds. And
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
There you go.
So let's talk about a little bit of the branding that has changed over the years. You guys have really taken on and expanded, but you also have changed over the years in regards to your image on the can art, on the 6-pack art, on the carton art,
and
all
just
of that.
their branding.
Now, currently.
I have. It's funny. I have a file cabinet when we had the brewery, and I had stickers from all the breweries and everything.
It's fun to
and
see,
I have like the original sticker,
Like a
with
line
the
art
buoy
version.
Yeah, yeah,
and,
I have
and the
that.
wheat and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then it changed, and the buoy was gone.
Yeah.
It was still it was it was blue and white.
Yeah.
And then I have this one now
Yeah.
with the slash and the longitude latitude.
What goes into the decision making of making those changes? Is it trying to just keep fresh, keep new, or is it there's something to that beyond just the look of it?
Well, the marketing geniuses that work and make those decisions really would be better to answer that. But truthfully, it certainly is argued about and discussed, and not two people don't see it the same way, specifically when you're looking at a new piece of art. It could be for anybody's the new can you come out with or a new bottle or anything.
Yep.
No two people see that the same way,
What
right?
process do you go through? Do you guys sit at roundtable discussions, have meetings, go through like, images, slideshow? What, like, how does that end up being where it is?
Oh, yeah, the
All of that.
meetings and round tables. Sure, that's exactly what we do.
Sit outside and have a beer and be like, you want to change this shit? Yeah,
So
all right,
he
good.
gets a picture on his phone. He goes, "Fuck, God, that's what they went with."
No, but the modern one we have now, the sort of the simplified version, is these things come on trend. These things come on trend in all different industries, right? And as generations change, the younger people respond to different things different ways, right? And so,
do you look at that as like every 7 to 10 years? Let's just kind of re-image ourselves.
No, we not so much on a time frame like that as just as when we feel it's necessary.
So you get a vibe from it.
There's a couple of things that happened at the same time, right? So when we had all the tap handles that were different and artistic and that, and then you go into bars and it's 20 black handles,
Right.
Yeah.
And so we're saying, well, this is not working for us in here, right? And so the cost that you're putting into that, you're not getting the response from, right? And so, okay, we'll change off to some simplified form where we can do the different brands up there that makes more sense, and it's simple, and the brand has to be more recognizable, because when we started, there weren't 500 brands on the shelves,
Right.
and so now there are. So you have to be able to see when there's 4 of them. They call blocking, right? You want to have it. You want it to be seen, and so everybody's after the same thing. But everybody wants the consumer to recognize the product on the shelf.
Yep.
Right.
But how you do that and how you maintain your own your authenticity to your brand is sort of it's part art, part magic, right? I mean, it's not.
I like that.
There's no real hardcore science to it the way I see it, and all the marketing geniuses I've spoken to, some of it is feel, some of it is just being on trend with all kinds of things. And it could be any kind of product, right, that's out there, that when you look at these things simplify, any beverage product, anything in the supermarket, all of a sudden it's very much clearer to the consumer when the category gets cluttered, right? You have to be a little clear. We used to be, when optical occlusion came out, Jim, our buddy Jimmy there, designed that, and we were the first company to have a film on the 6-pack that interacted with the light, so it would shimmer in the light. So we're the first people to do that, and that's how you got attraction, right? That was
catching
part of
in the eye,
right? And so it was amazing technology when it came out, and we used to try to be at the forefront of all those things, whether it was packaging technology, brewing stuff, ingredients, all that. That was the rolling fun of it all, right? And so that change from, hey, we can shimmer in there, to when you look at the wall now and there's 300 of them that are all crazy designs. That's not how you stand out.
Yeah,
and
we
now,
don't stand out like that
right,
anymore.
You
Right.
stand out a little bit more simplified.
Now your packaging is very like solid color.
Right.
Like you just know, and then simplified logo, Blue Point. You just know what you're getting. So pumpkin orange, you have your IPAs, whether it be purple or green or whatever it might be. You have a color coding to it, which makes sense because that lines up with some of the other things that are out there, but you're distinct. You're out there with that specific branding. When did that change? When did it go from, the classic look and the classic feel to now that's the way we're going? Was that very recently? I feel like
What year was that, Jim? It's only a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, it
So-
doesn't
a couple
feel like.
years, it's
Yeah,
been
3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
3 years ago, 4 years ago.
the whole blocking
this
thing became a
this
big
thing
part
here,
of it.
it became about 3 years ago, and it takes time to cycle through. You got to use all your 6-packs and do all this other stuff.
And that was my next question. Like, how long would it take for you to get through what's already on the shelves and what's going to replace it with the new stuff?
Well, that's it's an everyday argument about the waste in the packaging side of this business is a big piece of the discussion, right?
Yeah.
And with AB, they have very strict rules on packaging, much more strict than you'd see out in the world, where the cardboard's been sitting around for a year, you can't use it, you're not even allowed. It's fine. Because part of it is it get gummed up in the machine, and you're going to have more downtime running with that cardboard than it would cost them to replace it, right?
And moisture that could eventually
Right.
grow mold, and you don't want to open something up and have anything there. So it makes sense that they put those rules in a way for an establishment like they are, as big as they are.
Right. Companies that can absorb that. Nobody wants to absorb any wasted costs, right? I mean, that's not what we're all in this for.
Let's just throw these dollars out the door. It's fine.
Right, but it happens when you do a changeover with your art and everything. That's an unofficially, or that's not what you're looking to do.
Right.
But specifically, all of us do so many SKUs, right? There's so many different brands, seasonals and regular beers and one-offs and to-go beer from the bar and everything else that we're doing. It's hard to be run out of everything at the exact same time and exact same day.
I mean, impossible.
It's impossible,
Yeah.
right? Even
There's no way.
the best intended folks,
Right.
it doesn't work out. But so there is that cost whenever you make one of these decisions. It's a big decision when we change the look and feel of what we're doing. There's a lot of arguments. There's a lot of fights. There's a lot of what the hell, man. It's like, what do you see in this? For God's sake!
Get those big
Definitely,
inflatable boxing gloves, and you guys
The
go
Hulk
at
hands.
it.
Right.
Yeah, the whole game. Whoever gets it good is going to be the one that wins the argument.
No, and somebody like in their underwear on their couch in Utah is sending me nasty messages on fucking Facebook and shit. You know what I mean?
Don't you
It's
love
like-
the internet?
That's
And
always
so
fun.
you just gotta,
Always fun.
got a
Take
lot
the
of
good with the bad.
thick skin at the moment, but you got to be able to realize that people don't like change, but everybody
Yeah.
everybody likes progress, but nobody likes change, and that's why
I
vision and leadership is hard.
I remember getting a text message or a message of this
Really?
before it was released by someone that works here, and says, "Bro, what do you think? I'm really in part of this, and I want your honest opinion." I'm like, "What the fuck is this, bro?"
Yeah.
And he was so angry at me. He was so fucking angry.
Oh, that's great.
And I was like, look, I get it. You guys are a national brand, if not a world brand. And the Bowie with the wheat and Long Island, it doesn't.
a lot.
The guy in California, and he's gonna be like, what the fuck? I don't care about this. But when it stands out a different way, when it's a brand that it doesn't say where it's brewed, it's not East Coast, it's not Long Island. He could just pick it up and go, oh, not know where it's brewed because the can doesn't show where it's brewed unless you read it. Oh, I really like this. People are fucked up.
Yeah, no, that's what happens.
no
West Coast-
judgment. No prejudgment.
No,
Yeah.
people from across.
But they do that. You naturally, as a human, do it.
Preconceived notions.
They were like,
Exactly.
oh,
Preconceived
fucking
notions.
East
Yep.
Coast, those
Yep.
pieces.
It's the
Yeah, yeah.
psychology of a lot of the things that are happening. Just like, how does that work? How does the human brain work? How do people recognize, visually and sound and everything? What's that associate with? What does that go back to? How they grew up, and it's impossible to kind of keep it static throughout the entire industry.
Yeah,
you have to
Beer
almost.
drinkers are tough.
Yeah.
Beer drinkers are tough. They're
Yeah. And
they're
you're always
hard
going to
win
get
over
those
sometimes.
Facebook's fuck yous. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They give
Yeah,
plenty
No
of
matter
those.
what you do.
Plenty of those.
The sweaty fat guy on the couch in his
Yeah.
underwear.
Just because he has nothing else to do. It doesn't mean it means it's right
Fuck
or wrong.
you.
And maybe there's a little truth to what he's saying, but at the same time,
Right.
you got to understand where everyone's coming from in the end.
Now you got to read all the negative stuff too, just to
Oh,
see
yeah.
if you learn from that as well as you learn from anything else. But it's funny with the logo stuff. The people that are on different sides of the argument are extremely passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah.
They either like something or don't, but for a reason they're attracted to it. So you have this emotional argument you're having with people as well as some kind of real argument or factual argument. So that's always it's a knockdown drag out, and then you come out and put it out in the real world. And people that don't want change, for us, it's very cut and dry, right? We make a change. People on Facebook hate us. People on Instagram love us. The people on Facebook are older, and the people on Instagram are younger.
that's great.
It's just
Yeah.
very
Oh,
cut
yeah.
and dry. All the hate comes from over here.
All
and
right,
all the
guys, a
love
little
comes
memo from Mark. Everyone, don't pay attention to Facebook. They'll still come back. Just go to Instagram and love
Go to our
yourselves.
TikTok, you're gonna love it.
Those are 21 now. Those are the people that are
Yeah.
turning that now. You guys, obviously have built an amazing, brand and reputation. Let's talk about this space, and then we'll take a break because I'm sure all of us have to pee at one point. But let's talk about coming here, building this. So what kind of changed between River Road and then here? And we know the answer.
River
I'm sorry,
What
River
changed?
Ave. I keep saying River Road.
Yeah, I don't know why you do.
I don't know. I don't know what it's about.
Ave, bro. It's
I know,
all
River
right.
Ave. But we'll say River. How about that? Okay.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
happened between River and here that kind of allowed you to do this? Because I know you've had that envision from even the Long Island Brewing Company to make it look kind of like what it is now. This was your vision, right, for the entire time.
Yeah, we wanted to sort of build the beer Disneyland for Long Island,
Yeah,
right?
that idea.
I traveled around and saw these places in other cities, and I said, we don't have one of these on Long Island, right? Where people can really, a lot of people can come, live music, everything, we have the state-of-the-art brewing equipment that we can do everything with. One of the, besides just going through the reality portal of leaving River Avenue and walking into this building, the sort of, it was a good acid test. But one of the big pieces of it all is that, I told all the brewers to get gym memberships because they used to, what they used to do is, hell, all of a sudden there's the keg thing lifts itself up and all the other stuff. And I'm being partly facetious, but it's that, it was no more excuses. I don't want to hear about it. This equipment is extraordinarily sophisticated.
Playing with the big boys
right,
now.
Exactly. What you envision that beer to be, we now have the ability to do, and that's a grand thing for an artistic perspective, right? And say, hey, if you envision these flavors in this beer, we can now do that. And so there's nothing out there that's beyond our capabilities. And so let's work on it and dial it in and be
Everything
creative.
is possible now.
Yeah. Whereas there were a lot of things that were hard to do in the other place.
Oh, I remember at one point too, there was talk that you guys were going to take over the back of River, and it was going to be something like on the water, and I was so fucking happy about that. And obviously, things change. And when I heard it was this, and it was the old school, was Braycliffe, right?
Yeah, Braycliffe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Braycliffe.
I was like,
Sweezies.
well, originally, way back, it was Sweezies, this whole area. And I was like, oh, man, I can't wait to see what they're going to do. Building stayed intact, but everything just came in and floors changed. And
Yeah. This was these were the dental clinics, so we had to get rid of the ghosts from the dental school. Had some there was a lot of pain.
Real assholes. Died here, and sons of bitches.
We still get samples sometimes.
But this,
Toothpaste and things like that.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
pre-Sweezies, this was a factory that made stuff from the 1800s,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
this was an old rotten building, and the brewery and River, we had taken the drains out of the bottom of this building, and those were the drains we had in the brewery. The physical drains. We actually came in this building when it was derelict and yanked them up, because back then they would paint or do parachutes or whatever they were doing,
And everything would go in.
everything would just go in the river, right? You just put it, they would just open, the floor was open to the river. We took those drains and made them brewery drains on River Avenue to sort of do that, and it's kind of unusual. And then the bricks from the front of that bar that we had at River were from the old lace mill. And so it's interesting that we end up back here at that space, right?
That's
you know?
cool.
Yeah, full circle.
And then, of course, the bar top from River is downstairs
Yep.
Yeah.
in the merch area, right? So
Which
my
is
wife
cool
made,
idea.
which my wife made. Right?
Yeah.
Really?
And so, and I met her at Long Island Brewing Company. So we
There
get
you go.
all the pieces
Look at
together
that.
there. But
Craziness.
coming here was, hey, we now have that ability to do whatever we want to do, and a lot of it, right?
And that's got to be the motivation, right? I mean, you have ultimately every brewer that start up that got to a certain point goes, how do I get to that next level?
right.
Everyone has that vision, knows what they want to do. You actually made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, and nothing's easy.
No.
Nothing's easy. A lot of interesting stuff went down, but and you build a project like this, right? And so what people come and see it. It's magnificent. It's literally magnificent.
It's a beer campus,
but,
beer college.
This building we're sitting on is on pilings and not slabs. So when they came in to do the brewery, they were like, this weight's not going to hold. We have to now reinforce the whole bottom of the building. We have to do it without interrupting the river. We have all this other stuff. And
Here
so
comes
this
the EPA.
is, yeah, right. One step after there's always those things in brewing that in any business that you don't really see up front, right? And maybe you think you should have in retrospect, but you don't. And so all kinds of projects and interesting stuff that went down. But to be able to have the control and be able to make the beer and exactly the way we want, hopefully, is a big. It's a big step. It was a big step for us because we were really dealing with. A lot of challenges. We were almost brewing outside at River, right? I mean, it was just an open warehouse, and so that's not an ideal way to do it. I'll just be honest, and it was certainly wouldn't trade it for the world, but it was. This is, I think, what we were really looking for.
Yeah.
And one of the funny things that is the most simplistic things that changed is we're all under one roof here. So back
Right.
there, we had multiple buildings and warehouses
Yeah.
and cold boxes, and
Yeah.
so
And
it
the
would
Cast
snow
Fest-
or rain or anything. It was just a
I
fucking
remember,
disaster. you
like
know?
you had to go down, and then all of a sudden you went down, and there was a bunch of units, and they were all the all the cans, like
Yeah.
pallets of
Well,
cans
I said like,
to go out for
Cast
distro.
Fest over
and-
at River Avenue was fun, and it was you sprawling out, you
Yeah,
walk around, all cool, but like you just felt disconnected. You're like, oh, I got to get back over to the brewery at one point, shoot some hockey pucks or something, and now it feels like whenever you do this, you're here, like you're on the campus at all times. It's all interconnected. And we're after the break, let's talk about kind of the design and everything and build out, and we'll hear from you about some of the brewing equipment and stuff like that and what you're working on now.
and the casks.
And the casks.
Yes.
Let's take a
what I
quick
do,
break.
so.
This is the Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve. Gubs ready. Wow. I'm going to try that again. I have to pee so bad. That's why I'm racing through it.
It's right there.
This is the
right
Word
there.
with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GubsRadio.com. We're live here at Blue Point Brew Pub on the campus, the beer campus, the beautiful beer campus of Blue Point Brewing in Patchogue. We'll be right back right after this.
Govs Radio.
This is the Wort on Govs Radio.
This is the Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GubsRadio.com. Live here at the Blue Point Brew Pub. In the heart of Patchogue, Long Island, here with Mark and Jim. And listen, we have so many stories when we took a quick break for pee and food and stuff like that. And we got to get right into it. But let's first do a segment that we have grown to love, and we're excited to hear from you because we didn't get a chance to do this with you at Cast Fest last year.
We haven't done it with Jim either.
No, I know, but that's
That's
you don't have to say that. Like we had him on, but just briefly.
Correct.
So we want to always do the 3 questions. So let's get it going with Steve's 3 questions.
Hey, you cool hep cats. Tonight, we bring you a very special presentation. 3 questions with our very own Steve Pominski. Yeah. Steve's questions. 3 questions from Steve. 3 questions. Steve's questions. Go.
There it is. I knew it was coming.
knows.
Oh, well, that's...
Hey,
don't worry about
and
that.
you cut.
Forget that even happened.
Yeah, pre-production.
Yeah, we're at this post-production.
Post-production.
All right, so we're going to kick it off here with Steve's 3 questions. Go for it, buddy.
All right. I forgot what these questions were. No.
Get the fuck out of here.
Well, these questions are. It's nothing tremendous. I'm going to ask one question at a time. I'll ask Mark, and then I'll
Could
ask
be
Jim.
epic, though.
I'm really interested
We've
in
had
what
some good answers.
Mark's got to say.
Okay.
All right, so Mark, what was that beer that turned you on to? And at that, I mean, this is back then. Craft wasn't really there yet. But what was that one beer that you said, "This is something I really need to look into. I want to do something with this." What was that one you drank? And you're like, "Wow, this is great. I really need to get more of this."
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Because those things that are your influences. And
Yeah.
in the beer business, it's the beer, right? And as much as all other stories that we tell. And so I grew up with German beer in my refrigerator. My dad was, after World War II, he was a border guard in Germany. And he came back. And part of, I like the story because it's part of the social experiment and it's part of the actual beer because he would talk so well about the Germans who were down and out right after World War II, how difficult it was for them, but also their respect for beer and their respect for drinking in groups and the fun they had. And they sort of taught him all of that as a young man there. And so when I was stealing beers out of my parents' fridge when I was 12, I was drinking Dinkelhocker and Hockershore and Beck's. And
Which makes me wonder if my kids are stealing beer out of my fridge.
Yeah, you are.
And
Right.
like within the next year or so, they're going to be drinking like triple IPAs.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
9-10%ers that are just still sitting there that I've not
As
gotten to
long
yet.
as they don't touch your Dogfish Head 60 Minutes.
No, they won't because they'll be gone before they even get a chance. But I also have sours in there, which might really turn them on. Like that's the new thing. It's sweet. It's crispy.
It's like Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, I'm scared as to what. And I gotta keep.
So-
You know what? I'm gonna keep inventory.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna keep inventory.
You gotta.
So
and-
Dinkelhocker and
Yeah, so those, if you, and one of the things that's lost to time is that those beers were much higher IBU beers back then, right?
Yeah,
And those beers have all been halved in the IBUs over time. And so, of course, it seemed very bitter to me, right, as a child. But that's what I drank those with the love of the stories that my father told me of those people and the joy of drinking beer. And so that was a combination of actually the bitter, interesting brew and the unusual looking glasses with the faraway label and all the other. It's before anybody was trying in Europe, right? Those you could barely read the label.
It's almost like you're drinking culture.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was living those stories in my glass as well as what was in the glass. And so once again, I think what was the beginning of the whole craft culture for me. It was like there is this beer thing that is friends and support and family and even in the face of the worst tragedies in the world, you can still get together and have a beer and enjoy it with people.
Was there a brand or a label that just was the one that you can really associate that with?
It was either Hackischer or Dinkelhocker because they were all in the fridge at the same time, right? you know?
It all kind of mixed together. But
Right, there was Beck's in there back then too.
Oh,
So you know but those were the big brands that were in the. I mean, those were the ones I remember as a young person saying, "Hey, this is part of. There's something here more than just whatever the hell I'm doing, grabbing beers out of the fridge."
And I do say, just to follow up on that, I do let my son, who has the most interest in it, taste the foam of the head. And like on some of those like tropical-based IPA things,
sure.
he's like, "That's really good." I'm like, "Crap, what am I doing?"
I remember back, same thing, Bitburger, Wursteiner, Hofbrau, Lowenbrau, all these different German beer. We're a Polish family, and that's my dad was.
True, yeah.
He loved all that.
Czechvar.
Well, it's funny, when you go back and you think about it, you're like, wow, who would have thought?
Yeah.
And now Crispy Boys are coming back.
Yeah.
No, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt, and glad for it.
Yeah. Jim, what was that first beer? It turned you on?
So for me, it was Pete's Wicked Ale and Newcastle Brown.
We've heard it before.
Yeah,
and both of those we've heard
yeah.
before.
Yeah, those were
Yeah,
the
yeah.
beers that,
Which
like,
is good. That's like a common thread through a lot of the brewing community.
They weren't yellow fizzy beers, man.
No.
It was like, hey, this beer's color, it's got flavor.
That malt beautifulness.
Yeah, I was at a pool hall and I was getting 22-ounce Newcastle Browns for $2.
The
And I'm
nut,
like,
the
man,
nut
man,
brown was.
my life is like complete. So yeah.
I'm gonna say like junior year of high school for me was nut brown.
Yeah.
Someone brought that to a
Oh,
party. I'm
Goose.
like,
Goose
what
nut
is
brown.
this?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? What? This is what beer could be.
Yeah, I grew up around Chicago, so
Yeah.
around Goose Nut Brown, their
Yeah.
Oktoberfest, and I mean, I planned my brewing career over a $8 pitcher of beer and a $5 pizza at Mother Bear's Pizza in
That's
Bloomington,
as easy as
Indiana.
it gets, folks.
And look where we got you, brother.
Yeah, I was working at Bloomington Brewing Company, and me and sitting there talking and saying, hey, what do we want to do with our lives? And I'm like, hey, let's make beer.
That's
So,
awesome. That's awesome.
Fantastic.
I remember the very first time having Sam Smith's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was it.
Was that Mr. Fadley's
Yeah.
down the block?
Yeah,
Really?
Of course. Yeah.
Wow. That's not still there, though, right?
It's
Oh,
there.
yeah.
It's not what it was.
It's not what it was.
Not what it was. Bro,
How many times have you guys been there?
There was-
that's great.
I had a 200-pint plaque.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
I remember like, let me get what's on tap, and the fruit flies are all around the brass taps. And I'm like, oh, by the way, can I get a hero?
Yeah.
And it was the worst place that there was.
It was like prosciutto, little.
Bro,
yeah.
It was German, hardcore German.
Yeah.
really?
Hardcore German.
100%. And you would go in the back and you'd sit in a booth and it was dark.
Yeah. Dark wood, dark booth.
And it was,
and
but
you
it was,
good. Be good or be gone. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It was no bull.
and
Really?
it was again, great place. I don't know. Again, first time ever having Sam Smith's there, and I was like, what the? This
What
is
is-
fantastic.
Yeah.
How did you guys get this?
And
Deli
then,
pubs need to come back.
Yeah.
Deli
Yeah.
pubs need to come back. If you want to start something, that's it right there.
There you go, brother.
Yeah.
Be like an upscale dirt pub.
Let's
Oh,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah. All about it. Yeah.
yeah, that was the only place to get those kind of interesting beers in Suffolk County back then,
Yeah.
right? So what you got out of that was you got a really interesting clientele, right?
Yeah.
So people who were from Long Island that were traveling the world that came back and said, "Oh boy, I've had these great beers all over Europe, etc." And they would migrate to Fadley's just because that was the only place to get them. And so the just going and having a couple of beers was an experience because you'd run into somebody and talk and stories. Yeah, the whole thing. And then the guy playing the accordion, and they had all this other accordion Joe.
God,
you know,
yes.
Just transported you right back.
I made him show me his driver's license one time because he was like, "I'm 90." I'm like, "You can't be 90, dude. You can't." And he pulls out his driver's license.
Fucking
I'm
90.
Yeah, 90. He's drinking liters.
So good.
Built to last. That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, question number 2.
Go for it.
What right now is your favorite style, and / what right now would be your favorite style to brew?
So, real interesting. So, for a little while, I really like, and I can go around with all different things, but I do like lagers, right? So, so I'm split with 2, right? Really, really dry hoppy beers have always been
Like
something.
West Coast IPA.
Yeah, exactly.
Base, yeah.
But and then somewhere in between, like what if you had to put a label on it for style, maybe strong pale ale, right? That's real dry in there and hoppy. Now with all that, there's all that technology that's now available, all kinds of upstream and downstream products in the hop world. Very, very interesting stuff that's coming out now, science-wise. And so those, I find that is an endless array of what you can do and can't do. With that being said, the lagers that we do in wood here are really something that I think is where it's probably back from the early days of what I was drinking. But
that's right. You guys have those photos back there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And we do a lot of experimentation and a lot of work with that and a lot of different things. And I think that there is, as the pendulum swings back from super flavored and high alc and stuff back to sort of the crispy thing, I think there's a place for these really full flavored wood matured lagers. And so that's where I'm at the moment. I would
Somewhere
say.
in this crispy, but also has a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of just the body. Everything kind of plays into effect.
Yeah, I think that's the whole. I'm back to whether you're around the table with people. It has to be. The beer can't be the only thing you discuss with people when you're around the table. The way I look at it, but it has to be interesting enough to maintain and do
the
that.
conversation.
Right? And so I think when you and I happen to like to drink beer, so I had to have a
get out of here.
Right. So
crazy.
having a few is part of my criteria, and so I think that's where I'm at the moment.
Now, so with that said, how much would, like, if you had to put a percentage on it, how much of your life is beer?
A great deal.
Yeah.
I would say. We've traveled things like stories my wife tells. We went on our honeymoon to Oktoberfest.
Okay.
Right. So we flew to Amsterdam and drove across Europe. Went to Chimay, and I just went to all the beer god places. I mean, they didn't let us in because she's a woman, and it's the cloisters, and it's private. No, is that a woman with you? You can't come in here. What is wrong with you?
You could come in. She stays out.
You're going to unconvert all of these people that are here.
Right. So you go to Chimay, a quick little story, and we just driving around, we pull up. I'm like looking at the map, right? This is a long time ago. And I'm like, Chimay, I know that place. Let's go there, right? So we pull up. And it's it's an old church on the outside. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's an old church on the outside. And it's like a Monty Python thing when you bang the clapper, and you're waiting for the guy to open the thing and look in there. And he does. I'm going to point it. I just show up, right? American style, And he's like, what do you want? I'm like, a tour, a brewer of America.
Beer?
Right. He's like, everybody from America's a brewer. And, he's like, certainly that shows up
I've
at their
heard this
place.
before.
Right? So then literally my wife, and they're like, no, she can't come in. You can't.
Yeah.
No women behind the doors. And, all right. But he goes, you can go to the bottling line, and the bottling house is down the block. Go there. Okay. And I'm like, okay. So we drive down there. And we walk in, a real modern place, right? They're making Chimay Blue that day. The bottles are buzzing by, and they're buzzing by like you're in a major American brewery plant, right? Strobe lights are slowing it down so you can see the bottles. And I'm like, this fucking Chimay Blue, this is no joke right here, right?
Yeah.
And they're all, by robots, they're all going into like milk cartons that are open on the bottom, and then they stack them up and they run them into this hot room because they're re-fermenting in the bottle, right? And so they just push them in the big stacks, like 50 feet by 50 feet high. Probably not 50 feet high, 30 feet high. And they push a stack in, and then a stack comes on the other side out, and those are complete. And they're doing that. I'm mystified by all that, And so we're standing there, and they got pictures on the wall of the monks sleeping on the straw, And I'm like, well, this is a big operation. I go, how many monks are there? And the guy goes, there's 6. And I'm like, 6?
Do they ever sleep?
I go, what do they do? And he goes, I go, do they brew? They do everything? He goes, no, they don't. They don't actually brew the beer. I go, what do they do? Because I'm wise ass New York.
Bless it.
And he goes, they lend their opinion. And I said, I have found my job. I have found my job. I have arrived. They're going to lend their opinion.
Show me the way the Franciscan order.
Exactly.
And here
Sign
we
me
are.
up.
Here we are today.
Yeah.
Sign
It
me
makes
up.
a lot of sense. I mean, the experience of just that whole trip, that whole journey, got to add every little bit of that to kind of what brought you to the next level, next phase, the next part of your
Sure.
life.
I mean, at Oktoberfest, so this is 8 days after getting married, I lost my wedding ring. So then, and I bring that up because we're still married, right?
Right.
So that was really,
Thank God it lasted.
right, exactly. It's not, there was been, she understood at that, well, she knew before, but
When you guys have planned trips, and this is how I get a good gauge, do you say what's around there? Where can we go? What can I see?
Oh, yeah.
Like brewery-wise,
oh, yeah.
beer-wise?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, it's all
That's
of
my
us.
life.
I know, it's
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
life too. Are you kidding me? It's like, where are we going? We're going AC? What's the closest brewery?
My wife is
How am I
very
getting
savvy. She'd be like, just recently we were in North
Yeah.
Carolina. She's like,
you made a whole week
she's
of that.
like, I want to hike the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah.
I want to see Biltmore House. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, check.
And
Now,
then she's
5
like,
more
oh, by the
breweries.
way, right around the corner is Sierra Nevada's new place, and down the road from there is New Belgium, and you have friends that work at New Belgium,
Yeah.
so maybe you call them and she
Yeah, she understands. She knows
And-
the assignment.
bro,
Yeah.
she did well. She
Yeah?
did well.
Nice,
And you went to
nice.
Riverbend too, the malt house.
Well, no, I met them at Dissolver.
Oh, you did it. Was that so? They were there already.
They were hanging out there.
See, I don't think we broke this down
talking
together.
grain,
Yeah.
and I just looked over. I'm like, hey,
you guys.
we
We talked before.
yeah, and then we drank beers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, of course.
Jim, we
Jim.
didn't even get to you for question number 2.
Question
Yeah.
number 2.
Question number 2.
What is your favorite style? What is your favorite style to brew
What would
as
you
of
get
right
the
now?
brew?
I
Like,
actually-
if you
I
had to
mean-
brew a beer, what would you brew right now if you had to brew?
Yeah,
beer?
I'm in the wood lagers.
Yeah, well, all right. So we did kind of cover that a little.
And
bit.
on top of that, like a lot of people don't realize that like a light beer that's been conditioned on wood
yeah,
is phenomenal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks, oh, dark beer. It's got
Takes a little
dark beer.
smokiness, a little sweetness.
Oh,
Everything
it's-
about that
it's-
wood matters.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm actually going with Mark here. I'm just the Fooder beer, the Fooder lagers are just actually phenomenal. I mean, our lager beer here is our brewer's beer. Pretty much most of our brewers come up here at the end of the day, and we put down lager beer, and we love it. So it's phenomenal style. Drinks well. You can drink enough, and you can have fun with it, drink it, and not be on your ear, right?
What do you
So
think the
that's a big thing.
percentages of you
Unlike
and
Mother Pumpkin Barrel Age.
Yeah.
He's good.
Okay.
It's not a beer that bites you in the ass. You know?
I was gonna say, what do you think the percentages of like in-house staff drinking that beer versus what goes out? Like,
Oh, I think we do damage here.
Yeah.
Our brewers-
50-50.
Yeah.
50-50.
We do the work. We do the work here. Yeah.
Cool.
the 30-barrel tank. It's
yeah.
50-50. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, that one tank, that's for us.
Yeah, that's for
It's
us.
a one serving tank.
Makes sense.
And brewing wise, I think I'm going to throw it back to Old River Avenue, where our hoptical at River Avenue, like just running that old makeshift hop back, wort splashing, just seeing those hops come up, and that smells and the aromas, and just that was heaven. That was everything. Just like that beer. And
I remember the 4 cores over
That was
there. It was
crazy.
toasted. It was blueberry. It was toxic sludge, and it was the cherry one. What was the cherry one?
Cherry wheat.
Cherry wheat.
Or
cherry
sour
beer-
cherry
sour-
imperial stout.
That's
Yeah,
what sour cherry
yeah.
imperial style. I still have a poster in my beer basement that I have the original, the core lineup there. That optical illusion, though, when that dropped, when that was first hit, like, everyone, but man, outside the tasting room even, that was something, and I can even attribute that. Like, what was that first beer? That was pretty close to like that first beer.
Yeah.
For a lot of
Yeah.
Long Islanders, I'm sure that
Yeah.
was like their first experience with IPA.
that was a really, really special beer. And like for me, and I think for most of our brewers at that time, I mean, it was just like, it was tough. It was a tough brew, but I mean, it was worth it. I mean, you didn't mind doing the work, didn't mind grinding it out, because it was like, it was just that good.
Yeah.
It just I can't even. I almost get emotional talking about it. It was like you just felt it. It was just right.
I remember the first
good.
time seeing the when the resin tap handle came out with it, and I was like, oh my god, this is
the pyramid with the eye.
pyramid with the eye.
Yeah.
So
I remember
good.
brands, man.
Yeah,
I'm a
man.
visual learner, so for me, you show me the picture, I'll tell you exactly
Show-
what it's all about.
Yeah, that was so Optical Illusion 04 is when it came out, and the previous year you were working on it, and that was the primary hop that everybody gets out of that is Amarillo, right?
Yeah.
And so Amarillos were brand new; they weren't even on the market yet. And I had gone out west to Hop Select, and we had this new thing that was Amarillo, and I was like, whatever this is, I want
I want all of this.
I want all of it. And Blue Point was the largest Amarillo buyer for years. I
Really?
mean, Amarillo's gone nuts, and it's a large.
It's in a lot of things, but I mean,
it's a
that's-
large brand now. I mean, a large hop brand. But back at the day, we just Optical Illusion took most of the Amarillo in the country.
Holy
Because
crap.
I just like committed to it, and they were like, "All right, you signed this contract."
Some
Here.
brewery,
Yeah.
some brewery in
Right.
Wisconsin's looking to get Amarillo. Like, goddamn,
No.
Blue Point, fucking
Goddamn,
steal
those East
more
Coast bitches.
Amarillo.
All right.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But that's how it was in those early days with the raw materials. You had to
You had
commit,
to.
you had to believe, you had to do, or you weren't going to get it, right? Or
And you learned how to
they
work
weren't
with
going
it.
to plant it, right? One or the other. They had to,
Right.
Yeah.
They had to get
They'd be like,
the
"No."
orders to plant, and so everybody works together. Supply chain works together on
How
that.
did that
but-
work? Did you have to order way in advance, like a year in advance, a crop in advance?
Yeah, I mean, we did at Blue Point for years. It was we worked on 3-year rotating schedules for everything, for malt and hops. And then by that third year, I'm only ordering 75% of what I need, and you fill in as it's a rotating 3 years. So I worked on rotating 3-year contracts for the whole time we were doing it. And then new products will come on, and you change. And there's nobody in this business that says, it's 3 years out, how many barrels of this I'm going to be selling. Nobody has any idea what that is, right? So you're just looking at what you're doing and trying to make your best guess. Commit, go, figure out another beer if you have to, or sell some to some other people or whatever. We're always good at
Looply
that.
in exchange.
Yeah, exactly.
Before question number 3, checking in with Tom. Tom, you good? He's feeling great. All right,
Yay,
moving on.
he's not
Wait,
dead.
by the way, wearing the Hopped Up Network T-shirt, which is
I know.
another platform that we were on. I forgot I
Very
even
nice.
had that. I gotta pull that out of my drawer. By the way, we were on Spotify, Instagram. No, we're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on the Amazon Podcast Network, and of course, we're always on the Hopped Up Network. Just throwing it out there.
Nice.
From
Love
beer
those
podcasts
guys.
around the world.
Love those guys.
They are great. Actually, by the way, and just to stop for a moment before you ask question number 3, I just did a podcast and edited the Jersey Beer guys.
Oh, cool.
And I did a little, because we're in Steve's 3 questions, I did a little bit of and now here's to you cool cats. Yeah. I brought in Steve's 3 questions.
Why you gotta be stealing my shit?
Well, if any, no, it's my shit.
Why you gotta be? But it's mine. I'm Steve. I'm Steve.
I know, but I'm the creative magnet behind Steve's
look,
questions.
Look, creative boy.
I'm just letting you know.
I'm like Milli Vanilli, okay?
Oh my gosh.
Milli Vanilli, Jesus Christ. All right, take it away with question
All
number
right,
3.
great.
Question number 3. All right, Mark. What is that one beer you walk into a bar that you would hope that you can get to purchase, other than something you brew? Could be from any time, anywhere, any place.
So, one of those sort of desert island questions.
Yeah.
For me, Saison DuPont's always been in
Ah.
that place,
Where's
right?
Pete?
Yeah.
Pete would be like,
Yeah.
"You're a man after my own heart." That's our other co-host's favorite.
Yeah, and so that and back in the day, right? So that sort of combination of just to back up 1 second, there is a freshness piece of that, even though it's bottle conditioned and comes here. It's like the first time I went to Europe for beer tasting, and I had Orval the first time, and I'm like, wow, it's never tasted like this out of
I went to
the dusty bottles that I buy at the beer store.
Yeah.
Never tasted.
I went to the
like
Heineken brewery. Tastes nothing like Heineken here.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing like Heineken
Oh, yeah.
here. It's just like a completely different beer, and you're like, "What the hell is this? This is Heineken?" Like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess so."
That's why it's worldwide successful. But yeah, so that is my one that I'm always happy to see or try and do, and it's always been that complexity, that sort of dryness, full body, the yeast when it's right, when the yeast is under control, when it hasn't gone off or anything from time or bad shipping or bad treatment or what have you. That's one of mine.
And I would have said touch of funk, but at the same time, that's what we get experience here. If you go there, it might be a little different. Might be a little different experience.
Right. A little cleaner in the flavor, and I'm not, it's obviously a complex beer.
Yeah.
But that's one where I can either, regardless of what my mood is, I can get down for that.
Ooh, Saison DuPont.
Jim.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the standby Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yes.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's
Yes. See, I like Celebration though too.
yeah. Sierra's
Celebration's
like,
great, but-
Pale's the first hoppy beer I
It is.
ever got behind, and I never walked away from it. It's just that beer. It's just,
West
It's
Coast.
consistent. It's perfect. It's just like they're a great brewery. They do so much for the
Yeah.
environment. They're that brewery that I strive for our brewery to be as clean and as good as, as a good steward, as much of a good steward as they are.
Yeah.
So, and that's how they.
And that facility down in North Carolina is insane.
Really, I hope. you
Just
get
to
there.
drive up the, just going up the driveway a half a mile or whatever it is,
Like the
to get
Bourne
to
Mansion.
the brewery is insane.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet. That's
It's
on my-
like going.
on my list.
What I can think of is
Yeah.
like Michael Jackson's Neverland.
Oh, beer.
Not for me. It was Neverland for
With
me.
less pedophilia.
Yeah.
So much
You gotta be
less.
careful with that. Yeah. That's
So much
Wait,
less pedophilia.
Well, let me
A
see. I
tough
had
place to go.
I had 6 beers. No, there was no pedophilia.
oh,
Even
wow.
with over drinking,
Yeah.
over consuming,
Tough crowd.
no pedophilia.
And not. I mean, the facility is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But they had history.
Yeah.
Like they had these cases, glass cases of hydrometers from like the 1800s. What? They had refractometers. They had old crazy shit that was
Like a
from
museum on top
it
of a
really,
brewery.
It really
yeah.
was.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
I was so impressed. So I was like, and then the key thing that got me was I'm walking down a hallway, and on either side was the lab, and then over here was the hop room, and then over here was a chiller, and over here was that. But right down
It was
this,
like a Jurassic Park tour,
pretty
right?
much, and right down the middle of this were drains, floor drains, and I'm like, that's ingenious, because the brewery was over here, and then
Yeah.
you were over here. If you had to have washed anything,
Right.
it's going down the drain. You're not mopping. You're not. And I'm like, fuck these
Lots of
guys,
squeegees, though. I would
goddamn.
imagine they have a lot of squeegees.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get to drink the when you're there. It's the only place you can get it is the bottled version of the Sierra Pale on draft. Right, so that's the bottle version's a little stronger than the draft version,
Yeah.
and the bottle, but they only sell it on draft there at the
Yep.
pub, right? So
Interesting.
it's the biggest seller there, and it's well worth it.
They have a garden. They have
Yeah.
a garden out back
That they
where they
grow.
grow everything. They,
Yeah.
they grow like basil, stuff like that.
I mean, I could do
just
that.
just to make small small batches of stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
you mean like pilot
great.
programs and stuff like that?
Oh.
They're just trying things out. Yeah, it's nice.
It really is. It really probably is the. I'm not sure I've ever been to any place that was more the beer, castle, the beer
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, I've been to some interesting ones in Germany that are more artistic.
Right,
But
right.
but that place is the overall, the mecca for American craft beer, certainly for sure.
These are like 17th century, 18th century. You can't match that here
Right.
in the United States. But however, you can match some of the history that we do have.
Right.
So that's tough. So I just want to just summarize really quick. So the 3 big IPAs that got me into craft beer. It's going to be Sierra Nevada.
Yep.
It's going to be Dogfish 60 Minute, and it's
Okay.
going to be Optical Illusion. I want to be completely honest with you because it
Awesome.
was readily available and here to go.
That's a great list.
I mean, those
yeah,
are the 3.
That's a good
Yeah.
list.
Those, I mean, I don't think I've given a Mount Rushmore of them before on the show, but that's really what it is. And I'm not
Well-
kissing ass. I'm being serious.
Well, we all know from previous
that it's Dogfish. I know.
Dogfish is.
But like Sierra Nevada was right there, and I'll say this: when I opened my basement, which is just my own little personal brewery, the first keg I got was Dogfish. Second keg, Rastafari.
There you
Oh,
go.
really? Awesome.
Yeah.
yeah,
Second keg I ever got in my basement was Rastafari. I finished that myself. It was one of the ones that so different. I mean, I didn't drink it all myself,
Right.
but I finished it myself.
liar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. All right, so. But it's so different. Like, how did those recipes over the course of years come about? Because, like I said, we listed the 4 cores that I remember when I first started drinking Blue Point. How does Rastafari come through the mix and become a beer?
Well, that was just the beginning of rye IPAs, right? And
Yeah.
so part of what we always tried to do, what I was doing at the time, was be on the forefront of those things, of those those new things, white IPA, rye IPA. And so one of the interesting pieces in the Rasta is the spice edition,
Yes.
right? And so that, when you think about rye bread and you think about different ways that rye is used in our society, that having a little bit of that spice, and when it went to the GABF and won right off the bat, and it was just a real complex. It was a way to have an additional complexity to IPA, right?
Yeah,
and
and that's exactly what it did, because it was something different.
Yeah,
I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was I really liked it for that, and that was not the same old thing, and taking those different ingredients and nod to a different way of brewing, and I wanted it really to be different, right? Because it was rye, and I wanted that to come through, because that's hard with all the hops that are in it, right? The IPA hops can always dominate, so we had to have some way for that rye to come through.
Is there any
So it's
plans
got
on
caraway in it.
revisiting that in a way, like maybe for like a 420 Fest or something like that?
Well, it comes out. It was out this year already.
Yeah, it was
was.
out this year.
Yeah, it was out
for
this
an
year in the
anniversary.
throw bow.
Yep,
I did see that, but I didn't get a chance. It wasn't distributed very wide. It was something that was available here, but not so much. So I didn't get a chance to get it on my hands on it. But that like constant, are you trying to look to bring big things like that back and put it into like a yearly schedule?
Yeah, we have once a month we bring one of the brands back.
Nice,
from
all right.
and so that's Rosta's will always be in that list,
Nice.
right? There's the
Yeah,
ones
yeah. Keep an eye on
we
that guy.
vote we vote internally for the list, and what's everybody want to do. And there's certain ones that just show. The Pale Ale shows up, the Rasta shows up, different ones show up, and so
You say it was
ESP obviously
20th anniversary of Rasta? Is that what you said?
25th.
25th.
This is our birthday. Yeah.
No, that's when it was.
Right, no, I'm saying, but
Yeah.
that's what it was. It was 25 years?
No. Rasta was like 08.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
I returned. This year's was our birthday. That's why
okay,
That's
gotcha,
why we
gotcha.
revisit these old brands.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
No, they're good to bring out, and for people to connect to those old brands again, and because they're really good beers, right? And they're not.
Yeah.
It's not when you bring back one of those things. I mean, we're certainly, as society has changed, everything's about what's next, right? And that's fine. Everybody wants to, that's the way we're moving right
The
now.
hot new thing.
Right, but beer is not like that, right? I mean, beer is not made to be doing that. I mean, it's unfortunately that the business is sort of driving it that way. But beer's really not made to be that way. And
Case in point, I mean, just post-COVID, I saw Toxic Sludge on the shelves at my local distribution. I bought all of it.
all right,
Because I remember
yeah.
what Toxic Sludge was to me. It was that black IPA, and you know how much I like black IPA, Stephen.
Oh,
and Thomas.
yeah.
That I was like, I forgot about this beer for 10 years.
Yeah.
And here it is, and it was just as good as I remember.
Yeah, the bringbacks have been unbelievable.
Yeah.
The brewing team has done phenomenal jobs, and they're always like looking at me like, is he gonna taste it? What's he gonna do? Is he gonna hit me? Is he gonna do this thing?
Beat me about the nose and face,
Yeah,
Right,
Give
my-
the nod from Burf.
or high fives.
One
High
of the
fives
funny
over.
things was that the old office we had in River Avenue, my old office in the brewing floor, was made out of wood, not out of sheetrock, right? And so I'm a baseball guy, and so people would come in, and I get mad at them. I always had a baseball, and I would just throw it at the person I was talking to, and it would hit the wood behind them and come back to me, and I could catch it, and it would, put people off a bit. They would, they'd be,
Yeah,
they'd be like,
just a little bit.
This guy's out of his mind.
Just a little bit.
and they'd
Yeah,
leave,
yeah.
and they, especially somebody new, and they would say, "Hey, you just threw a baseball at me," and they're like, "Did he hit you?" No. Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
you're
you're
good.
good. You're fine.
Then you're good.
Fine.
You're in.
But that,
Mets or Yankees, or not local.
oh, it's Mets. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thomas, suck it.
Yeah. No, it's,
The rest of us are Mets fans.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah,
asking. He's the outsider in this crew. On another crew, he's the insider, but on this crew, he's the outsider. But for the most part, I mean, what you guys have done with the choices you have made have brought you to this point. What do you think is the key to all that?
well, it's the people. Somebody buys the beer. I mean,
It's the audience.
Right? No, it is. It's the.
But
It's
you have to attract the audience. You got to get them
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
You got to get them to the local beat.
relentless connection to the people that are here, right? The parties that we've had, the live music, the being part of the community, right?
Yeah.
And it's just the relentless part of the community that we've always done and we will always do, right? It'll never end. And that to me, I hope that resonates throughout what we do and what we always will do. And so that piece of it is so hard to sort of put down on paper, or ask what an ROI of having the Grateful Dead drummers in our parking lot. People tell me about that. Things that we've been doing this so long that people come back and have a story that happened at River, or a Blue Point story. And those things don't happen unless you do all those events and do all that connection and all the charity stuff.
Build
and
the
all
history.
The fresh, right.
Yeah.
And
Build the stories that you are telling now
Right.
that the future generations will tell to their next of kin and future and forward.
Right, and of course we're a brewery. It's about the beer, right?
Yeah.
And the liquid has to be good, and the relentless pursuit of quality beer, right? I've had some very interesting conversations as our world has changed here about one of the advantages of being acquired is that the people that acquire you don't understand exactly, they don't know you really.
Right.
And so as they're getting to know us, they're understanding, I'm saying,
Why you do what you do.
right. And one of the pieces of it is we sort of have this attitude we've always had, but part of it is because we believe in the quality of what we put out constantly. And when I say to the new folks, hey, we're going to win an award at GABF this year, it's a little bit of hubris, but I believe it because the quality of beer is going to be there. Luckily, we won, because that would have been
Yes, you did.
that would have looked
I'm
bad.
making promises.
That would have looked bad, but the point being that you get this level of quality that is probably different from what spreadsheets show is going on in the industry, and the people that are here. And that's your other part, right? It's the liquid and the people that are here are what the brand really is. And that will always be.
And during those acquisitions, have you had representatives from those companies come and just hang with you and find out what's going on and just get the feel and the vibe of what's...
Yeah, I mean, they've come to Toasted Tuesday, and, that's...
They understand.
Got toasted and
They understand that real quick then.
Yeah, I think, that's trying to explain, 25 years to somebody in a half-an-hour conversation is impossible,
Yeah,
right?
or
And
in a PowerPoint.
Right,
yeah,
exactly. It's not that, it's going to take a little time for them to get the vibe, but when they come here on a Saturday and the place is rocking and everybody's happy and the staff is happy and we get that all the time here in the pub. It was like, the people working here are having a gas, you know what I mean? And and they're gassed, and it's
As they should be.
it's part of it.
Part of what makes it fun.
It's part of it, but that connection, right, from everybody that works here to the beers to the community, and without all of that working, I don't think we get where we are.
And speaking of the community, we talked at the break about kind of your evolution from River over to here, and the evolution of what the town has kind of viewed you as, and now they see you as a hallmark or staple of this town. How are they accepted it? How have they been, reacting to everything that you guys have been doing here? You have events almost once a month, it feels like now. So, and we're not talking about like just, hey, we're doing yoga night. We're doing a massive concert with a full band stage, enough in a year. It could cause problems in a smaller town. How has Patchogue kind of accepted that?
Well, we have to, real shout outs to the village for working with us and what we do. And we're always, we're certainly proud to be here and happy to be here, and we want to work within the parameters that are there, right? And some of it's just common sense, stop at a certain hour and do this. But, it's an interesting piece, because you say, okay, the band's got to stop at 10. Well, in half the cases around the country, the bands don't stop at 10, right? And
Jones
now
Beach
there's
starts at
somebody
11.
that's complaining, right? And But it doesn't get you anywhere. If you stop at 10 when you're supposed to stop at 10, the
audience
event
is
is
pissed.
still great. The event's still great. You started early.
Right, good point.
We're real kings of day drinking and
There you go.
I like that.
day, day music is our thing, right?
Yeah.
And so you start a little earlier so that you can end and you're still in sync with the community and so forth. But
Like
the
it.
village has been right there with us for a million different things that happen when you have a facility this large. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on, and all kinds of options and things that come down the pike that you can do or not do. And so we have a really great relationship with them, to be honest. The village, who's for people that have been around Patchogue for 20 years, has changed completely, right? And so
100%.
it was a rough place when we started.
Yes.
Literally a rough place, and it's no longer. It is a shining star of what the politics can do. And of course, there's people that disagree within the own village, but they always pushed Patchogue first, right? And they were trying to push into change that. We had the infrastructure, they have the river, they have the main street, they have the stuff that nobody else has.
Yeah.
And so the pieces were there to be a special place. It just took a lot of vision, and the mayor's been the mayor for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And that continuity, it's a lesson that can taught in politics all across our nation, is when you have people with the right vision that stay with their foot on the gas for an extended period of time, you can create great stuff. It's not what we see go on mostly in politics.
Yeah,
right?
do you want quick hits and quick change? It doesn't work that way. It never has.
If you,
I think this is one of the first villages that did what they did with the railroad right there.
Yeah.
And if you look all around, there's so many, Massapequa, Farmingdale, Lindenhurst now, as you know.
They all took
Rockville Center.
this
They all
as
took
their-
that idea, like, okay, there's a train, and
There's a train.
we're going to do this wonderful thing on our main street.
Yep.
It's literally Patchogue was the cookie cutter
Pioneer.
They started
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, "We want to do what they did."
Right, I
Because
think
it worked.
Right, and it was right when the belief in downtown Long Island was being lost. Right,
Yeah.
The box stores would come into the highways. That we were suffering the same thing that was going on in the rest of the country. What we did have was the beautiful downtowns and the access to the beaches and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So we had the ability to come back. Some places around the country suffer much worse. But as that whole thing happened, on the South Shore of Long Island here at Sunrise Highway, right, as all the box stores and all the sales and all the business migrated up to Sunrise, the villages were in a difficult place. And
Yeah.
Patchogue decided to do something about it instead of just sort of wallow in the problems. And so it's in 1,000% different place, more than 1,000. It is a wonderful place.
And bringing back these events and these things that are happening, like Cast Fest coming up in a couple of weeks, November 4th, just for everyone.
What year is this for Cast Fest?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's 152nd, I think it is.
Holy shit.
That was the.
It's been a while. George Washington was
Mark,
at the first
you're
one.
getting- you're looking good for 127.
No, I don't know. What's the first one, Jim? It was in our some advertisement we put out
It's
recently.
14th
20
or 15th?
No,
Wow.
more than that. No, more than that.
Yeah.
Are we that far
20
in?
maybe.
20 in?
Yeah, something.
I'm getting it.
It's a bunch.
It's a blur.
It's a lot.
It's a
Yeah.
blur.
It's one of those, like, so I remember it. I have the old orange mustardy Cast Fest shirt.
Oh, yeah.
That I remember. That was from River, and I remember walking to the train station, stumbling to the train station. My friend's girlfriend is not doing well, sick on the train station.
2003 was the first
Oh,
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
2003
yeah.
the first one. Oh, yeah. I
So
misunderstood.
20 years. Hey,
20 years.
He knows.
Oh, yeah. Or that 20 in. Wow.
120 years. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Seems
Wow,
like.
Charlie was still a pup, a young pup at the
Oh,
time.
here we go. Sorry, Charlie, baby.
Sorry, Charlie.
Sorry,
Always
Charlie.
gotta
we
make
had
fun
to
of
do this.
Charlie Becker. But I mean, this is one of those events that's a staple on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
Other than, let's say, COVID, nothing kind of stops this from happening. And after a few years of parishioners for God knows how long, and now being part of this event, it's one of those things that brings up people from all over, breweries from all over. It gives opportunity to other breweries. You reach out to the community, and not just the local community, but the brewing community as well.
I'll tell
and
you
allow
right-
them to highlight themselves, as you know, as a brewer.
I'll tell you right now, it's not only that, but the brewers love it because they get to hang out.
Yeah.
Because the majority of
At
the
the Big
time,
Boy place.
they're working.
Yeah.
Right.
They're working.
Yeah.
They're busy in their brewery, doing what they have to do to keep their business alive and push their product. This is the one day where they all get to kind of fucking hang out, get loose. What did you have? What did you
Right.
make? Hey, I did this. Talk shop. It's the greatest time. And Blue Point has always been the best host.
So, speaking of which,
I mean, one year you guys, I don't know, bought like 40 pies, like pizza pies. And we ate before it started.
Oh,
we were
yeah,
eating
yeah,
pizza,
wow.
and
There you go.
the bar was, like we were back in River.
Yeah.
We were in the tasting room drinking
Just
beers.
pounding.
Oh my God, man. It was so good.
I didn't get the brewer experience or the backstage experience back then, but the backstage experience now, coming early and being and walking around early and seeing the excitement on everyone's face, like I can't wait to get this out to everybody.
And what's cool is when you see a new brewery that hasn't been here before.
Right.
And
Oh.
they're excited.
Yeah.
They're like, oh man, we've heard so much about it. We've never had a chance, I mean, Jesse was telling us earlier.
Yeah.
the amount of vendors you guys have this year too. Opened it up to more vendors.
I mean, is it 20 more vendors that I remember on the other side of the tent now? The way it's set up, it's vendor. I don't want to say vendor heavy because it's not.
But-
it's more breweries and vendors, but
it's
so much more opportunity
Yes.
for people to get their local businesses through, and that's kind of again a testament to you for you guys as a big staple on Long Island, kind of contributing back to the community, not
Yeah.
just in the brewery, but like even local vendors.
Yeah, and it's also good for the vibe, right? People can take a break, take a walk around.
100%.
One of the great things about
Decompress.
Cask Festival that separates it from other regular beer festivals is you end up with there's so many beers and there's so many stations to try beer. There's no ever tremendous line that you have to wait
Never.
on. There
Yes.
is- So then you kind of have to self-regulate at that point when there's no when there's no line.
Well,
and we all do
about
that.
well, you see now, Mark.
We all do that to one level of success or another, but that whole different vibe. You can just walk into that huge tent, the roar that's going on, and you can get a beer without going, shit, I gotta wait 10 minutes on this line or anything. And you can get
Yeah.
one of the most interesting things you've ever seen. Even a brewery you might know, that cask is going to be different possibly
Well,
than anything you've seen from them.
And I mean, there's a lot of cast. I mean, what do you guys? You only do like 1 or 2, right?
Yeah, it's a couple.
Yeah, it's a couple.
Yeah, just a
How
couple.
many you got?
What are we up to this year? 55?
55 this year. Yeah.
Jesus
50
Christ!
55 casts from Blue Point alone.
Yeah, some Beyond Beer. You know.
Alone.
So you guys roll out what looks
And
like
a big barrel. And a big barrel.
Oh, you always have to have the
you
big
always
guy.
have
Yeah,
the
the
big
big barrel.
What's
yeah,
in it
so-
this year, Jim?
This year we have, what is this? This was a Imperial Stout, bourbon Imperial Stout.
Jesus.
I think it has
47%.
About 9 months.
Yeah.
About 9 months contact time.
9 months.
Yeah, around
What?
about. So yeah, so it's
You've been aging
What-
it 9 months.
What barrels?
I think it was the Heaven Hill barrel. I think
Ah,
Oh my God!
Never
The
know.
amount of bourbon.
should be nice beer. So.
yeah. As it always is, though.
yeah.
It's a great way to
As it
start your
always
day.
is.
It's
Oh my
always
goodness.
it's
You know
always,
what?
always a highlight of my day.
There's nothing better when all of a sudden you hear, and then you hear the bagpipes come in.
Yeah.
You're like, here we go,
Let's
people.
go. Time for the
Here
bell.
we go.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim, what went into 55 casks? I mean, what's the
By the way, you're an
it's just-
insane individual, and I love you for
Yeah,
that.
no, it's just
That's
it-
the basis of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
right, yeah.
insanity?
It's really just kind of the love of beer. I mean, Blue Point's give me a life, give me a career, give me a place on this island that I love and this neighborhood I love. So it's just my passion for beer, my love for beer, getting our brewers involved and trying to keep people excited and make our 2,000 to 3,000 friends that show up that we don't even really know yet happy. Because
I was going to ask you. So, do like a lot of the guys like, hey man, you know what? I think it would be a good idea, like pretzels and
yeah, why not, right? Yeah, we open it up.
he didn't even question your what you
no,
were about
because
to say.
I
He's like, yeah, let's do
I
it.
know
Yeah.
there were guys on the floor like, hey, I got an idea, Jim.
Ketchup and mustard.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We open it up to anything.
And just a squirt of mayonnaise. It's gonna be fantastic.
Make my own sauce.
I can only be
ranch.
so.
It's all about the ranch.
I can only be so creative. It's like it's
Oh, yeah.
it's
100%.
Like they say, it takes a village, right? And that's the same thing with this brewery. It takes a village to run it, keep it going, keep it fresh, keep the beers good. Without our other brewers, our other team members, I can't succeed in what I'm doing because without the time, without the support, without the efforts, or everyone else, I can't do what I'm doing. So,
Jim's being, Jim, but that wall of casks that he puts up at Cask
That's
Fest,
what I'm saying. It was
right?
like
And so that
a baking tray comes out in multiple phases, and you're like, it's a wall. It's a completely.
I mean, literally, it's what is it? 3 high?
we run 3 high. Yeah,
Yeah, it's 3 high.
Typically, our top row we don't throw casts on. Just get top heavy. We hate these gonna get hurt.
empty
smashed by a
casks go up
cast.
there.
Yeah,
As soon as we
so.
kick them.
It looks nice though. It looks good, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I had seen that at a Cask Fest in Wadsworth Commons in England, and I saw this setup. This is a long time ago. And I came back from my trip. I was like, we got to do this, man. When I saw the wall of gas.
He's drawing it out. He's like,
Right.
I need 3 casts at V's. And
Literally,
did you
taking
have to get
pictures,
it?
drawing it out is like, this is how it has to happen. Because it's a little bit of a physical issue to have all
Right,
those
sure.
casts and this and that. And I was like,
Casters on the bottom, roll
right.
it out.
I'm
and-
like, no, we don't lay them on the tables. We got to stack them high.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the green monster of casks there,
Definitely.
I mean, that's so much planning went into that. Do you guys start like literally after last year and just start figuring out what you want to do for the next year? Or?
Marketing does. I'm more of our time on the floor with production guys is pretty limited. We're kind of grinding out, working hard all the time. So I start usually about 3-4 months out. I mean,
Okay.
I'm always looking for beers.
Well, you have that one that's 9 months, but I mean,
well,
you
yeah,
have to pre-plan all
other than
that.
Big Barrel. That was
No, I
besides
know,
Big
but
Bertha.
still.
that was already in process. So it's
Yeah.
just something I chose from something that I tasted that I thought that was the one. So
Out of last year's batch, after last year's.
Well, it was our barrel production for this year.
Gotcha.
It was
Okay.
a beer that I chose, and that was the one that I thought was the right choice for us.
What was? I mean, give us a little breakdown. Like, what was the backbone of this? What's the core ingredients, yeast used? What's
This was Imperial Stout, our big base beer, big base dessert Imperial Stout we use for most of our specialty stouts.
Okay.
A lot of dark malts, a lot of richness, a lot of like chocolate, just this like super decadent, wonderful beer that it's boozy but not over the top. Still well balanced, still very drinkable. And then you put that with the actual oak and the bourbon, and just kind of
There you
get
go.
this layers of complexity, and that bourbon comes out. And as that beer warms up, and you get different flavor profiles, and it opens up more, and you get more bourbon, more. It's just that perfect thing. It's just like you find these beers, and you find that perfect blend of like beer, oak, bourbon, and you hope to God that you hit it. And like, I mean, that's me every year. It's like these are my babies. I lose sleep over this. I am not entirely a nice person like during Cast Fest, just because I'm so stressed out.
I don't know how. I mean, I used to bring 2 beers. And when people would drink, same thing, I'll be like, oh man, I hope people love it. This idea was in my head for so long. And I would stress out. And you have 55, besides Big Bertha, that you're like, oh man, I hope this goes out,
Did you have any, are you leaving it all up to him to kind of figure that out? Or do you have any suggestions at the end of last year to this year?
Yeah,
how
it better
do you
taste
play
good.
into that?
Yeah, my suggestions usually at the end of Cast Fest. I'm full of suggestions.
Yeah.
But,
Hey, you know what? We need to see Mark at the end of Cast Fest.
We'll get a quick video interview with him.
Yeah.
But no, this is Jim's baby. We give him all the credit, and you can't give him enough credit. It's something that is not seen in the beer world ever, anywhere. It's this unique thing, and I also think that because the work that Jim's been done for so many years has been so good, people come and drink cask beer, and that's the thing that that this festival is so funny about, is that a lot of people don't have any experience with it.
Yeah.
But the way we present the event, people have an open mind towards what's happening here.
Yep.
And if you said somebody, well, it's going to be a room temperature, it might be fizzy, might not, but it's going to have peanut butter in it. It's going to have this.
Figure it out.
When you try to explain it to somebody who's not real familiar with what it is, it almost sounds psychotic.
Right.
It does. It
yeah.
sounds like somebody has lost their fucking minds and has created something.
Bro, he's hitting that right on the fucking.
No. This is
It's all right.
He is hitting that shit right on the head there, Jimmy.
This is the chaos of my mind, pretty much.
Yeah.
This is kind of how my mind.
So let me
is.
ask you a question. So, like, coming up with these 55 recipes, right? Do we have sours? Do you try to span a different bunch of
I do some sours.
styles?
I do a lot of IPAs. I do a lot. I just kind of like this year. I'm trying to. So my mind this year has been very much into like culinary.
Okay.
I'm doing some edible flower stuff, some rosemary, some herbal stuff. So
Elderberry.
it's like, I'm doing like a shogunai, one of our Japanese rice lagers.
Oh.
With some jasmine.
I do love rice
and
lagers.
some cherry blossom, some things like that. So I'm targeting some very kind of delicate flavors that I'm hoping that really work out and kind of show just balance.
Yeah.
I mean, because I feel like post.
But there's out of the 55. Wait, you're gonna know that there's one that's. Just,
Oh yeah. There's some that drop.
What's that one that you're just like, dude, this isn't.
Oh God, I don't
is
know.
gonna be bananas.
I don't know. It, usually Big Barrel. usually Big Barrel.
That sounds pretty rock
Well,
solid.
well,
That
everybody
sounds rock solid.
Everybody
but-
wants the Big Barrel
That's
too.
what I'm
though.
saying.
That's true. Yeah, just to have it the
You're talking about
experience.
what excites me or what doesn't work.
No, more like
What do you think would be
This is
that
way
one that
too-
people are going to be like, oh fuck, that is unbelievable? Besides Big Barrel,
no. I was going more. I mean, you can ask that question too. But what I was saying is like, you
See,
just know in your back of your mind,
brewers,
like,
as
this
brewers,
is not going to work. This
You
is
always
just too
have
crazy.
you always have that one beer that you're like,
Well,
you're so
out of 55
jazzed about jazz hands.
varieties, 55 varieties, one is like that's the one that's not going to hit. But you might get surprised. You never know. Like, do you have one that's way out there?
Kind of like as I've matured and like making cask beer and doing this for 20 years, I kind of don't take those chances.
Smart.
I just kind of like
you want everything to be drinkable.
I want everything to be drinkable. I want everything to be approachable. There are in the past, I still think I can pull off a garlic stout. In my mind, in my head, I have faith and belief in this, but I haven't done it yet.
Do you know?
But I'm still going to go back to it.
So-
At some point, you'll see a garlic stout come back out.
One of the beers that I've not gotten into that people are still trying is like a sour stout. Like sour,
they're
but
good.
stout.
Yeah. I could see a black sour. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've tried it. Like Bridge and Tunnel made one. A couple of Queens made one.
Garlic stout.
Garlic
yeah,
stout
garlic
doesn't
stout.
sound too bad though.
Yeah. See,
The right
Well,
amount
in your
of
head,
heat
in your
and
head, in
No.
your head, yeah.
a little bread.
I do a little bread.
A little bread. I'm
Oh,
good. Yeah.
pasta.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I've done some fig and balsamic vinegar,
Yes.
which basically
Yeah.
tastes like the beer was bad.
Reduction.
So
Right, yeah, that's what it-
Acetobacter. So yeah.
That's what it feels like.
It
Feels
tastes
like
like the beer was off. So yeah,
awful.
but
Yeah,
it was
I
a
know.
great theory. It was a great idea. So yeah,
I threw it out before. Ranch.
Ranch.
You're gonna have to do a ranch cream ale.
Right, there we go. So,
Buffalo chicken ranch cream ale.
chicken
What?
Ranch cream ale, bro.
chicken wings stick on top of it. Yeah.
You got the ingredients back here. You can do this.
Man.
But I mean, that's the key is like matching it up to the culinary experience.
Yeah.
Is getting beer to have that same kind of feel, right? Going
Yeah.
in and trying something
See
like.
now, he's got me. I can't wait now.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
I'm
can't
interested to see the beer wall again this
I
year.
can't.
Yeah,
I can't wait for the beer wall.
I'm
I mean,
trying
I'm not a
to-
big IPA fan, but I love to see the variations of stuff that you can variance and.
Yeah. I've been thinking for a long time about a short contact time with barrel beer. So like I'm doing like with Shogunai or like small beers. I'm doing like some Japanese whiskey chips. So I just want to make these small beers a little more excitable, a little more approachable, a little more creative, a little more depth of flavor, complexity. Also, just like I want to make a barrel beer approachable. Like most barrel beers out there are these massive barrel
Thank you.
beers, 12%, 9%, whatever they are.
Yep,
They're
yep.
gnarly. They're just absolute gnarly beers.
Or just so much heat, so much just right in your face.
Can I ask a question for you guys' knowledge? What could you do a Brett barrel beer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course you can.
Yeah. The barrel would be done. I wouldn't
Yeah,
use
that-
it would be,
well, no,
it'd
you would
be
have
a-
to use it
It'd
again
be
for-
a Britannomyces barrel the entire time.
Yeah,
Okay.
you would have to use it as a
Embed in the oak and be there.
as a dirty
Right.
barrel.
But you could do one.
Oh,
It would have to be a
100%.
one-off, but it would
100%.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That'd be
There-
interesting.
Lacto, PDO, whatever you want. Yeah. We
when
can
when
full
you
gambit.
when you go to Allagash, they have a whole building and they have photos, and they're just inoculated with Brett
Yeah,
and
Solaire method.
and Saccharomyces and and that's what they use them for. They don't clean them basically.
I'm in it for the tiny bubbles. That's what I want.
Yeah,
tiny bubbles.
Yeah.
I want tiny bubble beer
And
sometimes.
it's amazing the actual re-fermentation and the actual the subtlety of carbonation, subtleties of flavors, how the carbonation bonds to the beer and it becomes this like creamy, wonderful, amazing kind of. And I mean, I don't make English cask beer. I mean, I'm dealing with a different market. I make American cask beer.
Yeah.
My carbonation rates are slightly higher. I try to serve a little colder because I'm trying to educate people, teach people the subtleties, the tradition behind cask beer, things that I believe in, things that I have complete and utter faith in. I mean, the tradition of beer and like that means a lot to me. And like kind of where beer started, I feel like that's where beer has to go. We started at one point. I think it's full circle to go back to that point and to honor that tradition and maintain that tradition. That's my job. That's my steward here. My job here at Blue Point is to be a steward of old Blue Point and our traditions.
And I'm sure a lot of brewers on Long Island would agree with you. Let's get back to Crispy Boys ASAP. And lagers and
it's-
all the clean beers.
It's also too what Jim's
Beer flavored beer.
Jim's getting at is it's kind of tradition. Again, he's not doing English cast style.
Right.
He's doing American cast style, which is our unique thing. But it's something that people can approach and be like, oh, those flavors go really well together. I never had that before. Broadens their horizons. It brings them like this festival. One thing always coolest people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The coolest. I mean, you go to there are other festivals and there are people drunk, passing out, fighting, doing fucking stupid things.
Yeah.
Just
Never
everybody's
here. Never here.
Everybody's here for a reason.
No, well, I'll say it starts with the
Taste
staff. You know,
unbelievable beers.
Mark, over the course of years, and into Jim's favor as well, has established this culture within Blue Point, and it goes to and filters down from him into the staff, and then build up from there back to the people that are here, the customers that come and understand the concept and the culture, and then that translates into those festivals, which is just chill and hip. I mean, my favorite band, by the way, Less Than Jake, had Less Than Jake here.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had Real Big Fish, you've had all those like just chill fucking people that are just like, let's drink some beer and have fun.
Yeah.
That translates to everybody. They understand that. So when they buy a ticket and they come to Cast Fest, they understand we're going to have a good time.
Yeah. That's Blue Point.
There's no
though.
bullshit. Let's just
Yeah.
go have fun
right,
and
man.
in the culture, have fun and drink and have a good time.
And River Avenue Blue Point, I mean, it was beer guys making beer.
Yeah.
We didn't make beer, I mean, really to sell it. I mean, we did, obviously. That's the bottom
Had to make
line.
money somehow.
We have to
Well,
sell
it's
it.
like, well, yeah, we'll sell some
a
of
little.
them.
But I mean,
Sell a little bit
but
of
I
it.
mean, we made the beer we had faith in, we believed, we loved, and we kind of made it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then, if you want, what's the saying? We brew it, we bottle it, we keg it. If anything that we have left over, we'll sell it to you. And that's how Blue Point started. And that's what he built this house on. Him and Pete built this house on. Is that thing? We were brewers first.
Yeah.
It was always about the beer,
Always.
and the beer has always been king. And just after the beer, it was the people. I mean, it was like River Avenue. Those tough days, those really gnarly tough days, those stuck mashes coming off that floor, seeing that tasting room.
He still has nightmares
Yeah,
about
he
that.
still
yeah.
Obviously,
he
he
does.
loses very.
Seeing that tasting room full of people like smiling faces that I know that were like genuinely happy to see
Yeah.
me, and no one's genuinely happy to see me typically. So yeah.
And
As
that's an honest man right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
That's
as
an
he's
honest-
covered from waist down with wort poop all over him.
and that got me through a lot of chaos. I
Yeah.
mean, I picked my family up and I came here and I had Alan Brady, and then I had Burf, and then I had all of our guys on our floor and all of our tasting room folks, and then a lot of them still come here and they're still family.
Man.
Then I had the hockey team. Then I had
Oh my God, yeah.
and it was this growing community of people that just they bought in. They bought into the concept of our faith and our belief and our love for beer, and that's it, right? I used to always say, beer's gonna save the world. It's that thing that punk rock kids, hippie kids, everyone can come together. There's no chaos, there's no problems, there's no drama.
Yep.
They just come and just drink beer, and that's I think beer has the ability to really to save the world. That's as cheesy as that sounds.
No, well, it's like
think
a
it's true.
well-designed mosh pit. Everyone's there to have
Yeah,
fun,
yeah.
get their
Yeah.
aggression, and have a good time, and in the end, they're helping each other up and making
Yeah.
sure no one gets hurt because they're all there for the
You
music
get
and the
knocked down, you
fun.
pick them up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
whatever. It's
Yeah, yeah.
fine. Good
Exactly.
times. So what do you see for the future here? Like, is there any? I mean, besides just longevity, is there
gosh.
any moving forward from this? I mean, is this as big as it can get? Can you
Well-
envision anything bigger
Well,
or
we
more?
got a. They had gotten bought by another company.
Right.
So yeah, things will change.
Well, of course,
But-
but I'm just saying, in Mark's vision or in Jim's
Oh, yeah.
vision, what do you see as like the next progression to the evolution of Blue Point?
Well, I think that it's
Please don't say non-alcoholic beer.
no
Blue Point Water, the new liquid death.
You know what's funny with NAs is that we don't have the particular equipment to do it here.
Thank God.
So I just say that to people. I
So
go,
no
you can't-
seltzer.
you
We don't
know,
have it
this-
here.
We don't
Here.
have it here,
Yeah.
so we can't. We don't have the equipment, so we can't do
And
it.
it's
So it's like a
expensive.
non-starter,
Right.
right?
And it's
and
expensive.
I realize it's part of the world out there and everything, but it's that's not exactly our culture.
No.
We're not really the NA culture.
Yeah,
we're sort
no.
of the we're sort of the full-on and don't be an asshole culture.
There you go.
That's
I like
it's
that.
it's sort of
Don't
that's
be a
not,
dick.
Yeah. We just we're not that. That's not our piece of it, right?
Right.
And it's a valid part of the world, but it's not our piece, and that's fine. But as far as going forward is, I think there's that excitement with change, right? And whenever something changes, everybody that people have are concerned, right? We have a little change of ownership here. That was 10 years with AB, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We did
Doesn't seem like that much, but it was.
Yeah,
Because
it was-
COVID kind of just
Right.
took everything out of the fact.
Right, exactly. And,
Yeah.
and you know, absolute wild stuff that we did in that 10 years,
Right?
I mean,
We're here.
An organization, right, this building, you know, appeared, and all the battles that was. And, you know, different things like, I was on in 2014, AB was just starting to buy the other breweries with us, right?
Yeah.
And so they created a hop team that they wanted to send the American
Is that what they
brewers
called it?
around.
Hop team?
Yeah, we had this hop team, and we would go around the world, and, you know, we would try these different hops, and they'd figure out if we're going to bring them to the U.S. to use them for American craft beer,
New
right?
Zealand?
And so, yeah, Germany, South Africa, you know, these places that are very different from what we do.
They should have filmed the whole thing with you. You would have been a very interesting character on television if they just like did a documentary of traveling with you to these various places of the world, trying to figure out, is this hop is going to be viable for an American-grown beer?
Along with Zane Lampley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sam Calgione.
There you go.
Oh,
There you go.
the three of you would have been amazing. Oh,
But all of that you know, those experiences and everything that happened here, you know, I was in a meeting in the city one time, and the guy who is now Michel, who's now the CEO, was running China at the time, and and I'm talking to this group of folks, and he says to me, "I want to tell you something you're going to like. Toasted Lager is the #1 craft beer in Shanghai, China." And I was like, you know, I didn't even know, you know, it was like, all right, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm going to get my butt over there, and we'll see what happens. But it's things like that happen that are, you know, when you have an organization that large, right, and that things like that happen that are just sort of mind warping.
They just happen.
You know? Yeah, right.
You know.
I didn't know anything about it,
and there's no connection to it. You're here.
Right.
That's over there. It's half a world away, and you're
Right.
like, okay.
Yeah, so I'm
great.
glad somebody's enjoying it.
Yeah.
That's really it. I mean, that's at the end of the day, spreading American craft beer, you know, and having somebody enjoy it and all that is good stuff. But all of that, you know, everybody's ability to work in a facility like this has been a great advantage, and I will never talk bad about them because we have this place, right?
Yeah.
And in big companies, there's pluses and minuses, right?
Sure.
And so that's you figure that out along your way. But I learned a lot, you know, from like anybody else, a home brewer at 5 gallons to brewing in the largest facilities in the world and seeing how they operate and what their challenges are to brewing, which are just as big as anybody's challenges to brewing. Even though they have these big facilities and big budgets, there's extraordinary challenges to make craft beer at these places. This is not something that any of these breweries were built to do. And so a lot of brewers working really hard to try to figure all that out. And so a lot of fun. So I learned a lot of stuff about how all, you know, the smallest breweries to the largest breweries in the world work from grain to glass. And that experience, I find, you know, once again, that's part of the love of what I do. So I could never get enough of going and seeing these people and talking to these places. So how do you do this? I mean, there's this real quick story about Toasted Lager. When they first were going to make it at Baldwinsville, which is just north of Syracuse, there's an AB brewery there. That's where it's made. And it was coming out of North American Breweries in Rochester. And so I go up there, and they were doing the tests in St. Louis to try to do flavor matches so they could move it to the big breweries, right? Okay, so it's not working. They send me a bunch of tests. So I'm like, no. And then the person on the other end in the line says, oh, this is the 7th one or whatever. We're going to make this one. You can't say no. And so I hang up the phone, right? I hang up on the person. I'm like, whatever, whoever that was, right? Yeah. And so then the phone starts lighting up. You can't hang up on people, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't care. That's not the answer. You know, perhaps I shouldn't have hung on them, but whatever. So then they go, okay, we're going to have a panel. And I don't even know what they're talking about, right? So they're like, fly to St. Louis on this day. And I get there, and there's 20 people in the room. There are 3 AB lawyers. There's the people that are at the AB.
They're trying to intimidate you.
Well, no, I'm not even sure. Who knows?
Yeah.
They had the people that were at the pilot plant that were doing these things, and then they had the higher ups in the brewing people at AB, right? And me.
Wow.
And so they bring out
and
they bring out the beers, and we taste them. And the guy Pete Kramer, who's just retiring now, says, explain to me, you know, your take on this and the difference. And I did. I said, listen, you don't have the complexity on the malt base here. You don't have sort of the balance right. You have this. And I said, that is the attraction to this beer, Toasted Lager. Like Michael Jackson once told me, it's a beer he could drink every day for the rest of his life. And I was like, that concept that he had in his head has always been what it's been in my mind, is that we want to be in people's lives.
Capture that.
All the
That's
time,
it.
right? This
Hold
beer
that
has
forever.
to have enough complexity, but not burn you out on it and this. And so then I go through that whole explanation with him, and Pete Kramer says, all right, we're going to do it your way. And everybody at the table's like, fuck, I see exasperation, I see this.
We lost.
Right.
We lost to this guy.
And I had no idea. I'm like, wow, that was fun.
I win.
Whatever I won. I'm not sure what I won, but
Cool. You guys want to go get a beer?
That's great.
right. So then I, fast forward a month later, I'm up in Baldwinsville to tell them the good news that we're going to do this, and the things that I didn't realize that level that happened, right? Because we had 5 different malts from Wireman in that beer, they didn't have that kind of malt handling capability, right? So they had to reroute the railroad track so that they could bring in the super sacks, so they could move the trains of the 2-row that they're pumping in for the regular beer. They had to renegotiate the contract with the union, and because they got to do this extra
That's
work.
what they were trying to avoid.
Right.
They weren't avoiding the recipe. They were avoiding the fact that they had to do all these extra pieces of work down the line
Right.
to make it happen.
Right, and I had no realization of that. I was just there for the beer.
Right.
Sure.
I was defending the beer in Blue Point, and I had no concept of what the ramifications were.
Right.
But it was really the first time that they decided that they were going to actually try. Right. And so they were trying to make the beer with the 4 ingredients they had in the silos, and we're going to make it with these 4 things, and that's it, because that's the easiest and most efficient. But they had their sort of moment, and they said, all right, if we're going to try to do this, we really got to try to do this. And whatever obviously they didn't have to move the train, but they had to figure out a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
But when I'm standing there on the train tracks, literally in Baldwinsville, inside the brewery, going, holy fuck, oh yeah, I can see why
Sorry,
you'd be angry.
My
So
bad.
about that,
Right.
my bad. I
Right.
mean, I see
Why
where you're
does-
going with this.
Why does everybody hate me? So making those kind of monumental sea changes in brewing, it's been eye-opening and a learning experience. And it's been a wild time to just see that transformation from what beer was to what beer is today.
I mean, you
right?
have a wealth of knowledge and experience at this point. Is there anything that's going to throw you off? Is there anything that can kind of skew your vision for what this brand is?
When I look at the landscape of what's out there now, the seltzer thing was pretty soul shaking on a certain level, right?
I think it's dying off already, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
5 years,
Yeah.
whatever.
But it was that connection to people that I didn't quite get, and that the history of beer that is all of us drinking and getting together and do all those things that we do. I found all of the flavoring things a little difficult to, that swing. But like everything else, it'll swing back, and it probably has a little bit already. But that the difference that beer is there for a reason other than just the alcohol, and so it's just making something else that's as convenient because it's in a can and it's cold and all that. I find that difficult to wrap my head around, but I realize people want it, right? And it's successful and people buy it, and that's their right to do. And brewers in general are here to give people what they want, and so that's an interesting thing for me to sort of watch and live through. And the technology, I mean, it was fun to learn, right? We all had to figure out how, we don't make it here, but we made some teas at one time that were a seltzer-based thing. And just that sort of, that was a breaking, technology there, the way those things are brewed and stuff. But I don't embrace that sort of piece of it.
Right.
And that's probably not a nice thing to say, but it's just where I'm at with it. You know what I
You
mean?
kind of did it just to do it because it was a thing, and then you're like, but that's not the core of who we are. We're a
I
beer
put
company.
it in my mind. It's in a different category,
Right.
right? And I don't think, and like I said, I find it valid. It's not where my excitement is, right? And but when you stand and say like a 7-Eleven today, and you look at that door of the products that are there,
Yep.
there's on the cold single shelves, there's a lot of flavored things that are there.
Yeah.
Right, and even things that are labeled IPA and so forth can have a lot of flavoring in them now. And so it's an interesting time for us to look and say, if is this really what the art and craft has really gotten us to, this sort of the snappification of what we've done.
Snapple-ification. I like
Do
that.
you see a
By the way,
bus?
I love peach Snapple, which is like one of my favorite.
Yeah. No, flavors
drinks
are good.
ever.
I mean, flavors are
Great.
good.
Do you see a bust coming? Like the industry finally going too much? Well, I think we're almost at 10,000 breweries in the United States.
Yeah.
I think it's already starting. From what I heard, in New Jersey, there are some breweries already, because it grew so fast and the restrictions are so tough, that they're already starting to go. Like the latest ones to try to get open are the first ones to close. That's what I'm hearing about New Jersey. Now, it's a little different in New York because we have different regulations and there's different stuff going on. A little more space, I guess, in regards to, and population that's into it. But what do you think?
Well, I think it's the different business levels, right? If you're trying to make 6-packs and sell them to the supermarket, you're in a different game than if you have a pub in a town that creates a local community and does that. Yeah. And I think if you're in a town where the regulations are positive, and you're right about the New Jersey regulations, but if you're in a place where the regulations are positive, you can sell a little bit of beer out the door too by yourself. You can self-distribute a little beer out the door. You can have a lot of breweries. You can have a lot of those breweries. I'm not sure what that number is. I think the challenge of being on the shelf is that's finite. That is certainly finite.
Yep.
There's only a certain amount of space.
Only some SKUs, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Jim, so let's let you air out anything you'd like to do. Like, what would you be?
Oh God!
Over the moon about.
I'm a brewer. I mean, there's so many things I want to do.
What haven't you done that you want to do?
I want to do a Heather Ale. I mean, I want to do a Amaranth.
Whoa.
Amaranth.
Heather Ale.
Yeah,
Heather
we did.
Ale.
I did one at Long Island Brewing Company way back when.
Yeah.
It was purple.
Yeah.
We had all the purple flowers.
Is that what that was?
Cleaning out the heat exchanger was.
Oh my God, that sounds wonderful.
Oh my Lord!
It's getting flashbacks to
to
River Avenue already.
That day. So I want to do a beer with Amaranth. I mean, I want to experiment with grains. So when I first started brewing, there wasn't all these crazy hops or even yeast strains. Yeah. It was complexity of malt. We layered malt to achieve flavor, and now I think brewers got it easy. I just they have
spoiled bitches.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Yeah, I mean they have all these hops, they have all these things. It's there's nothing I don't want to try.
So infinity.
Yeah, I mean
limitless. Whatever I can get my hands on, I want to do.
Whatever. Yeah, any new ingredients, supplies, hops, anything.
And CastFest is really the place where a lot of these brewers go to showcase their creativity. Yeah. And with 55 casts of all different varieties, different styles, different variants.
And the first place I go to is the homebrewers.
Right. And that's what I said last year. I'm like, first place I'm going is the homebrewers and hand grenades. I'm going to LIBME. I'm going over to
for sure.
East End. I mean, they got the most radical stuff at times. And sometimes it's like, I never thought of that.
I tell them every year, every time I talk to them, they're the ones that are keeping me on my toes. They're the ones that I'm learning most from them because,
they have the most flexibility to do whatever they want.
Right? Flexibility, there you go. Flexibility.
They have
whatever I want to do.
They have no fear whatsoever.
Yeah, when you create a beer with a hot stone, you really can do whatever you want.
Stein beer, that's something that worked well.
Or a hogshead.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The stone.
Look, I want to thank you guys very much for your time tonight, for the hosting of the stage and everything else. Great to hear from both of you. I'm glad we got you for more than 15 minutes this time around. I won't ask you at CastFest. You have fun that day. We'll pin you down. But I want to give you the opportunity to
No, we're going to talk to him at the very, very end.
I'll get the camera out.
We are going to pin him down somewhere.
This fucking thing is great. But I want to give you an opportunity just quickly, anything else you want to promote, even outside the CastFest, anything else that stands out in your mind about the company or about what you guys are brewing or anything like that you want people to hear about?
Well, just want to, thank everybody that works here first and foremost, right? Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm extraordinarily proud of the team we have here. And as we move to the next phase with Tilray, one will expect it to be faster. They're a smaller organization, so probably a little bit more nimble. They have less things that are cluttered, right?
Yeah.
There's less brands. You got to have less than AB
does. They focus more on you. You give you a lot more attention.
Exactly.
Right?
So that opens up a window for a lot of excitement that can happen for us. And I really look forward to sort of getting back on that pace. And that's I think something that we got to gear everybody up from and get going. But part of that is the creativity piece comes alive faster, right?
Nice.
There's that route to market piece that was a little slow before. Now we have a chance to go as fast as we want. So when you think about things that happen at Cast Fest and people latching on to something in particular would say, hey, now that's a brand. Now let's make some more of that now. Let's go that. Maybe that has a chance. Maybe that's something that people really like. Let's move on that. I think those kind of things are going to be easier for us, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot of that going
That's
forward.
exciting in general.
Yeah.
Like I kind of even feel that vibe that you're saying. Like it's like excitement again.
Yeah.
But back into something new doesn't mean always something like it could mean, dude, let's invigoration.
Yeah.
You know, like ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Awesome.
They're
Opportunity.
They I think they're looking forward to trying to wrap their heads around everything they just got, right, and learning and learning about us. And Cast Fest is a great thing to show them and say, hey, this is the vibe. If anything is, this is what it's about, right? If there's anything that we do is, 420 is another thing.
Yeah.
They're the Sweetwater folks, so they're familiar with the 420 thing. They're like, blow it up bigger. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Go.
By the way, can we talk to them to get Sweetwater, make that brown again? That hash hop brown. Oh, I miss. That's one of the beers that if you can ask me, what beer would you bring back that is not sold anymore? Hop hash brown.
Oh, okay.
Best beer I've ever had.
Wow.
In regards to that style.
Yeah.
Hop hash brown.
All right.
Bring
We
it
got
back.
to get the guys to dive off Long Island.
Yeah, exactly.
But no,
we got to get the ovens up.
oh my god, yeah, and just bring it and just dry heat it over the course of 45 to 55 minutes. Or 4 hours, whatever it took to get
Whatever
it
it takes.
Jim, something to say. I mean, even at Cast Fest, what do people have looking forward to?
Oh God, so many phenomenal beers, so many
casks.
so many
55 casks.
all your favorite brewers coming together, drinking beer, doing things they love, doing things for the right reasons for the love of beer, and just thousands of your best friends you don't know yet. So, but I mean, biggest thing for me is like Blue Point and Cast Fest and everything. I just want to thank our consumer.
Yeah.
I mean, because like if you're not drinking it, we can't make it. We're super symbiotic. I need you. Yeah, please do it. So I mean,
I need
our
you.
tasting room people. I mean, people that have been with us, stuck with us, that did the transition, and your family. Just stay with us. Have faith in us.
It's
we're
a testament to your audience over the last 20 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's still people coming back from year one that are still coming back to Cast Fest.
Oh, there's lots of
each
people
and
that have been every
year.
single one of them. Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
And it's the vendors that are there, and of course, the absolute world's best podcast will be there.
Oh yeah. That's hands down. So.
We've only been doing it for
And-
7 years, and we have tens of hundreds of people listening.
And we'll be talking to Mark at the end of the cast
Oh,
fest.
yeah, it's going to be good. Mark, Jim, really appreciate you guys for being on the show. Thank you very much for hosting us, and thank you very much for everything you guys have done for not just Patchogue, but for the community, for the brewers on Long Island, and put us on the map. Long Island is on the map 100%. People talk about it in New Jersey. People talk about it across the country.
So not a lot of people.
It's a destination.
Not a lot of people know.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many brewers have done this.
Yeah.
They invited all the local brewers
Yes.
on Long Island, brought us in here, showed us the facility,
Yep.
fed us, gave us as much beer we could drink until we passed out in the bushes. A couple of us did. I was
peed and then you passed out.
well,
yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
But showed us the whole facility, showed us everything, opened up this building to us, saying, "Hey, look!" And on top of it, gave us the opportunity as local, independent brewers. Hey, if you have a need for something, let us know.
we can get it for you.
Well, no, like testing of beer. Hey, we had a problem. Can you test it? I had a problem. I had a infected batch. I sent it. Guys checked it out. Yeah, you had this. What did you do? What did you use as a chemical? A lot of big breweries don't do that.
Yeah.
A
The give back. Which is as what Cast Fest is allows them to come
100%.
and showcase what they're capable of.
100%.
And allow them a space and a place where it's fun, exciting, and everyone can be part of it if they choose. So, Mark, Jim, really appreciate you being on. Blue Point Brewery, of course, in Patchogue, Long Island. And listen, we've had a fantastic time here.
Yeah.
Beer's always delicious. There's nothing Tom, beer?
Oh, don't talk to him.
All right, we're good. So
Don't talk.
he's going to be our Steve
don't
McKenna
talk-
from now on.
Don't talk to Mother Pumpkin
Mother-
Barrel Age.
Another pumpkin barrel age over here. Had a great time. Tom's going to haul all the equipment out of here.
Yes,
This is the
he
Lord
is.
Mike, Pete, and Steve. GubsRadio.com. We will be airing this on Monday, October 23rd, and then we will be at Cast Fest November 4th, starting at, 12 o'clock? 1 o'clock? I forget what the VIP is. Whatever. You can check out our
I believe
our,
12 o'clock
our
is
Instagram, and you'll
VIP.
see all the information on there. And then come check us out. Come say hello. We'll be there interviewing people from all over Long Island.
Play some brew bag and
Yeah. Well, listen. Challenge us.
Ooh,
Beers
no.
on us if you can beat us at Brew Bag.
Wow.
Suckers.
Holy smokes!
Suckers.
Barrage beer will be in the house.
Huh?
Yeah, I'll bring some barrage beer.
Okay.
If you beat us, you get some barrage beer.
There you go.
God.
That's worthwhile.
This is the word of Mike Pete and Steve GovsRadio.com. Anything before we get out of here, Steve?
Yeah, get those fucking tickets to the Cast Fest.
You damn right. This is the word of Mike Pete and Steve GovsRadio.com. And we out.
Out.
Well, that's 2 hours of your life that you'll never get back.
Are you kidding me?
Please hang up and try again.
This has been the Wort on Govs Radio. I hope you're drunk enough.